All right, Twitch looks good. Star Trek, Star Wars, WandaVision, and more! We're crossing the streams tonight, everyone, on the Real SuperGeeks!
Hang on your capes.
Eighth edge of the Real SuperGeeks podcast. My name is Carlos Pedraza. Well, welcome everybody. It is Friday, February 12th, 2021, or as I like to call it, 2020 Part 2. And welcome to the Real Geeks podcast.
Carlos, you're trying to get me to say it every single time we start the show.
I really am.
More like 2020.1.
Yeah, okay, that's acceptable. Yeah, we're still only a month in. We're 2 months in now. Stop.
All right. Well, let's get started because we have a lot to go over this week. So let's start by figuring out who the hell all of us are here. I, of course, am Carlos Pedraza, one of the hosts, and I will go around and find out how my fellow hosts have survived yet another week of this wonderful year. And we will start this week with none other than the... Oh, I'm trying to decide which of you to pick, and I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to start this week with my favorite, and that would be Lane and Travis.
You just threw him off now, Travis.
They're your favorite?
Well, Lane is,
He's your favorite.
So, how are you guys doing? How are you doing, Lane? How are you doing, Travis?
It's been a very rough week, unfortunately.
Really?
Unfortunately, a few days ago, the grandmother of my girlfriend passed away.
Sorry.
Sorry to hear that.
And she's definitely going through some hard periods right now and doing what I can to be there for her. But understandably, there is a lot of sadness. There's a lot of anger. She, straight up said earlier that it just wasn't fair. And I really feel for her because the last time she saw her was in 2019, and she was unable to see her because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I really, it's really, really hard not to really, I really want to be there right now. And damn pandemic, border closure, it's hard. And I know that, I doubt that she watches the show. But
not even to see Lane?
Not even to see Lane. But on the off chance that she is, if she ever watches this, Jess, I love you very much. And I know that it's a rough time right now. I've been in your position before. Take the time you need. I am going to be here when you need me. And I am thinking of you every night. I love you.
Oh, so
You're the
sweet.
best boyfriend ever.
I know.
My boyfriend. Okay, that was for Lane, by the way. So let's go next to find out how our recurring guest star, Raul the Baul, is doing. How are you doing, Raul?
I'm doing fine. I got my vaccine today. I took my mom, and they just threw me into the line. I said, okay, fine, no problem.
Well, I'm glad. I was actually happy to hear that President Biden has gotten a hold of enough vaccine doses so that we all can have it by the end of July, which is months ahead of what I thought it was going to be. So,
and the process is going, at least from what I could tell in our little area, it was going real good.
Yeah, I think it's slowly getting better after a terrible start under the last
protesters don't get in the way.
Yeah, well, hopefully they don't. And let's see. I've been doing a rewatch over the last several days of Star Trek Picard, and of course, in the first episode, I rediscovered my love for my favorite incidental character. And of course, that is, you know who it is, son, Index herself. How are you doing, son?
Well, this week has been weird, I guess you could say. I'm streaming now on Twitch, like Ross. So that's a thing that's happening. I had my first collab stream this week with another VTuber, so that happened this week. Then it turned extremely cold, and it's supposed to snow about 5 or 6 inches.
Yep, we're getting that too.
Here in Arkansas, so
we're getting the same thing.
Dude, that's like world ending in the South. You don't get 5 to 6 inches in the South. That shuts everything down. It's a dusting. I remember one year whenever I lived in Alabama and it done that, and it shut everything down. We're parking the cars on the interstate and walk.
It's like when all the people in New York freak out over a tornado watch.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we had snow last night, and we've got a winter storm that's supposed to start in exactly 45 minutes. So it's going to be quite a weekend around here.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing I actually wish Back to the Future had gotten right, is that we'd have precise weather timing by 2015.
Indeed.
Don't talk about the cold weather.
Okay, we won't. Unless Ross wants to talk about it.
It's going to be 4 fucking degrees on Sunday.
Yay!
That's a heat wave. That's a heat wave.
It is minus 11 here.
There you go. And that makes it the right time to go to our next fellow host, and that is Ross Bullock, or as we like to think of him, the eyebrows in the room.
How about
you doing, Ross? Let him talk now. Go ahead, Ross.
So as I said, it's about minus 11 here. It's a few degrees warmer than that in the unheated basements, which is my studio. And I am bundled and ready for the long haul. I had a warm drink. Now it's more like tepid in the 20 minutes since I brought it downstairs. So that gives you an idea how rough it is here. It's been snowing on and off for the last month. February is always a killer in Iowa. That's when the polar vortexes show up. That's when it drops down into double digits. 2 years ago, it actually got down to minus 30.
Ooh.
And hopefully it won't reach that far down. Sunday, we're actually supposed to get that back up into the single-digit positives. It'll practically feel like spring.
Heat wave.
Unfortunately, as you can see, I have no fancy backgrounds this week.
No, but you do have a hoodie that looks like a TNG uniform.
No, this is a parka.
Okay, you do have a parka that looks like a TNG uniform.
The hoodie is underneath the parka.
Okay.
I've had to unfortunately downgrade my visuals, money being what it is. So no more fancy places for me, unfortunately.
Me neither.
It's better to be in a cold place than a hot place because you can add layers. You can only take off so many clothes.
That is
true. But you can drink water and be in the shade, which helps.
Not in Florida. Not in Florida.
And even no matter how many layers you put on, the cold will get to you. I learned that after spending a few weeks in Japan during the winter. Ugh.
Yeah, eventually it will, as with all things.
And in South Korean winters are no joke.
Oh, yeah, I saw that in MASH.
I was there. I lived it. Yeah. It was not fun.
Okay, let's move on to our stalwart producer, Justin Burton. Justin, how are you doing this week?
I'm also cold. We had an ice storm the other day and shut everything down. It's been the first time in a while that we've had a winter like this. I think the last time we got anything remotely close to this was back in 2009. And then we're supposed to be getting the snow that's heading towards sun this weekend. So that's going to make it even more fun. It's just never ending.
Warm it up for her before it gets to her, okay? Thanks, Justin. All right. And last but not least, well, maybe least. I don't know. It depends. Our own Jason Bullock. Jason Bullock? It's like I combined 2 people into one. Jason Kovalik, otherwise known as Ensign Beard Fasse. Beard Fasse, how are you doing this week?
I am not a cat.
You are not I don't know. It kind of...
Don't.
And
Scotty
you like
loves a
Smith
milkshake.
is
Get
also
played to
that.
hell.
Yep, and we had to get that one from Andrew Schmidt. Thank you, Andrew.
He actually gave me the idea. I saw it, so I printed it off real quick because I don't
Oh,
have
wow.
fancy graphics either. It's about to get snowy up here. Apparently, like in the next 5 or 6 days, we're gonna.
Okay, which of us is not in inclement weather? I think we all are. Oh, right. There you are, Raul. You're in Arizona.
right.
Arizona. It stays relatively mild.
Raul is the weakest link. He's being ejected. Ink. No.
I think he's the strongest link. The rest of us are the weak link.
I mean, he is the one who lives in a fucking desert.
Yeah, it's a desert. It gets cold, but not as cold as you guys.
I live in a desert too.
Northern Arizona gets plenty of snow.
Yeah, it does. It does.
That was the first place I ever experienced snow was in northern Arizona.
Salt Lake
Near
City
Flagstaff.
is a what is it?
It's the
called?
flats,
An alpine
right?
desert.
Fossil?
What is
What's that?
No, it's the salt flats where you live.
Just that's the other side of the mountains. But yeah, but basically, Salt Lake City is considered an alpine desert.
That's Celsius.
Yeah,
Yes.
indeed. Well, shall we launch into our topics for the week?
I wonder where I'm at.
Wait.
Yeah,
Oh,
where's today?
right. I even made a little note to myself here.
And
Shame.
completely forgot your note.
Where is Sun this week?
Oh, we're all talking about cold and places like that. And I've been in several ships here and there in my time, flittering about the cosmic universe. And now I find myself in the strangest ship imaginable because it's made of wood.
A wood ship?
There's wood and steel and a whole bunch of other things, and it actually flies in space and is airtight. Oddly.
Are you
Is that
on
the Hispaniola?
Sink?
No,
Are you
but
on
is that
sink
is
ship?
that the Bajoran lightship?
No, actually, this is the ship from Outer Wilds.
Oh.
Oh.
I haven't played the game yet. Well, then again, I don't know.
Poor Carlos.
I know.
Lost. Utterly lost.
Utterly.
If
Well, you
he takes the controller.
You know what? You should come by Tuesday and watch me play it.
Yeah.
On Twitch?
Mm-hmm.
Send me a reminder on Tuesday.
I will do that.
We'll get him hooked.
Well, no promises there. All right. Well, let's jump into our first topic of the evening. We've got a bunch of Star Trek news this week. None of it huge, but there's a lot of it. So the first one, kind of a bummer, was the news that the second season of Star Trek Picard, which we all thought had begun shooting, has in fact not begun shooting. It's running behind, and of all the Trek shows, it's the one that's the furthest behind, according to Alex Kurtzman, who says that the pandemic is going to delay Strange New Worlds and Discovery only a little bit, but Picard probably a bit more. How bummed are we about this?
Very
Well,
bummed.
I'm pretty bummed.
I'm not it's not that I'm not bummed, but I feel like this is old news because we already knew that, I feel like we've heard this story before, and
Right, but this has a date attached to it, which is they were supposed to start filming this month, and they're not. So now we know that they're really, really far behind as opposed to just.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say is I'm not surprised. I'm
Is
really
LA
not as bummed as I am. I'm really looking forward to seeing where season 2 goes.
Me too. And I'm guessing you are also looking forward to seeing where Elnor goes.
Yes, I am.
Me too.
Does LA have more stringent protocols than Canada?
Yeah, they have more filming. Yeah, they have quite a bit more protocols. That's why a lot of the productions have moved out of LA. I don't know exactly what they entail, but I've heard that's actually what's hindered a lot of the productions from starting back up.
But hey, for what it's worth, just like the delay in the filming at least gives the writers enough time to properly give Elnor the chance to get introduced to a cat. It's gotta happen.
So he'll get the hate YouTubers.
So here's the catch. The cat is actually a Cation.
No.
It's a Flurgan.
No, it's gotta be Grudge.
It's got to be Grudge.
It's gotta be Grudge.
It would be Grudge's long lost ancestor, Grudge.
Or no, we just have a time traveling crossover.
Cat?
Time travels illegal.
Yes. Thanks to the Nexus, we literally have Elnor meeting the Discovery crew. There you go.
Yep.
Because Guinan exists in the Nexus still. Remember that.
That's true.
Well, so
with
with
Captain
Picard.
Kirk and Captain Picard.
Yep.
Oh. Anyway,
But only in the Nexus, so you have to get in there.
We also have to look forward to all the hate tubers coming up with all the reasons why Star Trek is now failing because it's not started with what? Jason, do you ever want to use a cat filter in a lawsuit? Put yourself in trouble part. Oh God!
I liked his sound effect, but
Oh,
Andrew, I think you need to go to the bathroom for a while. It's time for a timeout. Okay. All right. So generally we're bummed. And again, I mean, to me, good news. Thank you.
But
the good news in this story is that Discovery and Strange New Worlds are not much delayed. And so we'll probably end up seeing them, not probably assuredly, we'll see them before we see season 2 of Picard, but I'm okay with both those things.
was there any news on Lower Decks and Prodigy?
No news on that.
But was it that always going to be the case anyway? Weren't we always going to see Discovery and season 4 of Discovery and Strange New Worlds before Picard season 2?
Well, maybe. But the news isn't just that that they're coming before; it's that they're not delayed very much.
Right.
So
I am bouncing off the walls for Strange New Worlds.
Me too. I loved how much we saw of the characters in those Paramount Plus promos.
That was
My favorite
awesome.
one, of course, was Spock vibing.
Oh, that was
That pissed off so many people.
I think the best Spock moment in those promos was the golf clap.
Oh yeah, with the tricorder. That was the best.
Tricorder. That was brilliant.
I'm sorry, the Spock vibing was that pissed off so many of the gatekeepers. Did you
guys see the version of him vibing the Faith of the Heart?
Okay, one at a time. Travis, then Fosse.
Oh, I'm sorry you got pissed off at a commercial, YouTube gatekeepers or whoever got pissed off. Like, I counted down 30 of these goddamn things last year. I can tell you, your canon is fine. There are plenty of other cringy, silly Star Trek commercials with the alumni out there that you can hate just as equally. So,
indeed. All right, Fosse.
Did anybody see the re-edit of the Spock vibing where they added Faith of the Heart?
Of course they did.
Of course someone did.
Of course they did. I did hear about it, but I didn't see it.
So what is all of this? I missed something.
One of the promotional videos for Paramount Plus has Spock with the Vulcan silhouette out, kind of vibing to music, and in the background was SpongeBob SquarePants singing "Sweet Victory."
Hey Jason, can you bring it up?
No, well, not this time. To people who get pissed off at that, I just gotta say this: the Love Boat, the Next Generation.
It's soon
Set a course for love.
I still haven't seen that. I can't find it anywhere.
Can't find what anywhere?
The Love Boat skit with Patrick Stewart.
It's just a commercial Don't take it seriously.
Oh, I thought it
Relax.
was an SNL skit. Like, I could have swore it was an SNL skit.
No, I'm talking about the Spock
Talking
thing.
about
The Spock thing. The Spock
Love
thing.
Boat was a skit. Yes.
Yes. All right. So we'll keep you all posted, of course, on how far behind all of these shows end up becoming thanks to 2020 Part 2. So the next piece of Star Trek news also comes out of Discovery this time, and that is the showrunners promise that, or pledge that Discovery will eventually fit with Calypso, the short track Calypso, in terms of its canonicity. So I assume that we all like that, even though there's a lot they're going to have to explain. Most notably, the non-upgraded Discovery that we met in Calypso, and that has already changed by the time we've reached the 32nd century in season 3. So,
not to mention a war with the Federation.
Federation.
Yeah.
My head out.
Although one of the things, at least if I read the article right, one of the things that they notice is that this time period in which Calypso is much farther in the future from where we are now in terms of season 3 of Discovery.
Yeah, it is an ambiguously set time.
Yes, but it is in the future.
Well, it was always in the future. Duh.
Well, it was in the future of when we were in the 23rd century. We didn't know where it was relative to season 3.
I mean, it's always going to have been in the future. That's how time travel works.
All right. First of all, don't hit your head with brass. It's hard and it hurts.
Yeah.
Yes, I know this.
But you
A
had to learn
life
that
lesson
on your own.
from Lane.
But you had to learn that lesson on your own.
Fire hose nozzles hurt.
I personally, I like Calypso as a short trek, but I get very, very annoyed very quickly when I hear people like trying to like make sense of it or like raise up like anger in terms of like, oh, this isn't like falling in, like Discovery is breaking away from the canon established in Calypso. Or like I had someone like enraged that Discovery season 3 seemingly wasn't going into what a Calypso had established, and that they thought that the character in Calypso was like a million times more interesting than anything
This is
Discovery
so Trek fandom.
Like,
You don't
this is,
even have
like-
an explanation for this shit yet, and there are people who are like, but it doesn't align yet. It's like,
And
no shit, it's not explained yet.
And like when I see this argument, like I'm just like, I know the Trekkies are gonna Trekkie, but in the same way, like I look at Calypso not so much as hardcore, like this exactly happens. Like I looked at I see Calypso kind of like as a teaser of what was to come, because it was shown to us before season 2, and it established the mystery of like who Discovery is going to be like 1,000 years into the future. Where are they going to go with this? And then, of course, in the season 2 finale, they show us going, 1,000 years into the future, and there was still like some like intrigue and some like bits and pieces as to what the future would look like in Calypso, but I never really looked at it as something to be taken as something that definitely happens in the timeline. It's definitely a thing. It's an important plot. Like this needs to have like everything needs to align to include Calypso, that kind of thing. It's just,
Well, I don't mind people having that particular point of view. I only mind when they assume that their point of view is the only way to
Only
interpret
one.
what
Yeah,
we've
that's
seen.
what annoys me.
Yeah.
It's like, people that think that, it's their opinion and their opinion only, and everybody else can just rot. No, that's not how it works.
There's something to be said for what canon is and what canon is, or what continuity is and what continuity isn't. Continuity isn't a negative; it's a positive, right? So what I mean by that is, something is only part of the continuity is if it's seen, right? So if Spock had said, "I don't have a foster sister," then Michael Burnham would be a canon contradiction. I don't have a half brother. Then Cybok, which is your favorite Vulcan, Carlos, would be a canon violation.
He's a different kind of violation.
When there's silence, right? When there's nothing mentioned, then there isn't a canon violation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, canon is just a base print anyways. It's there to give people a reference of what is. But it doesn't, I mean, they've changed canon 100 times over the course of all the shows that we've had. I mean, they
will continue.
Show.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
When I say canon is for writers and for geeks to settle geek arguments.
No, they have something to do on a Saturday night, right?
Yeah. Or
Friday night, as the case may be.
Granted, I'm definitely a casual when it comes to this kind of thing. Like, I am very easygoing with it. Like, look, my favorite Star Trek series has one of the biggest plot holes that should practically deconstruct the entire series, but I still like it. They establish in season 7 that Odo gets the morphogenic virus in the episode Homefront, which takes place in season 4. And in season 5, there's a brilliant episode called Children of Time, where Odo survives, decades past the Defiant crashes into a planet, timey-wimey stuff. Odo survives. He gets better with his shape-shifting, and that alone is a contradiction, because if he got it before the Defiant crashed in Children of Time, how is he still alive when he is on his deathbed in season 7, basically, before Julian Bashir miraculously, finds the cure in what's that episode? Oh, Extreme.
Because it was the neutrino It was the neutrino radiation from the wormhole that activated it.
Clearly.
Yeah, it clearly.
Well, you guys,
if the canon
I can explain this without super sciencey talk shit.
Mm-hmm.
Odo is designed to be the carrier of the virus, so he is going to be mostly immune to it, because he is designed to be that carrier.
He's
the moment he starts to meld with the other changelings is when he passes on the virus and it activates.
Wasn't he also made a solid at one point?
he was made a solid at the end of season 4.
I will also like to state that really the canon, all it does is serve the plot. If it doesn't serve the plot, then it's not moving anything forward, and it will be altered by the end of the episode, and people will just have to adjust to that. It needs to serve the writing and the story, and if it doesn't, it's not worth anything.
Right.
We haven't shit on Voyager yet. Someone throw in a Voyager contradiction. Hurry.
TLDR, try not to take it too seriously.
Yeah, it's like...
It is an important aspect, but in the end, it's not the central component of the story.
Hold on. Travis invited me to shit on Voyager.
Do it.
So I'm going to just say, season 1,
entire
season
series.
2, season 3, season 4, season 5, season 6, season 7.
You're
welcome.
There's a much easier way to do that.
Right?
So
There's a much easier way to do that, Jason. Just say torpedoes.
I do
Damage repair.
I do have a Voyager now. So what we have out of the people who are upset about Calypso is it's kind of the same plot as Kiss talking about the Year of Hell before we got the Year of Hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or these are the voyages on Enterprise.
Oh, do you have to bring that up again? We're
Every
moving
day.
on, folks. We're moving on.
Every day, every week.
Hey,
Okay, so we're going to return to our favorite, always fired Star Trek showrunner, and that, of course, is Alex Kurtzman, who reveals in a new interview
But he's still not fired.
Well, he sidesteps that neatly by talking about all the new Star Trek he's going to be producing for the next 7 years. He says in TrekMovie.com that they have a lot of Star Trek planned for the next few years, and that's pretty good news. I wonder how many more series that entails. Any guesses?
I hope they throw a movie
15
in.
more seasons of Lower Decks.
I can live with that.
They can't stay Lower Decks forever.
I'm waiting.
Yes, they can.
I'm waiting for Star Trek Elnor. That's the series I want.
I mean, they can just pull a Harry Kim on the Lower Decks and keep them Lower Decks forever.
Harry Kim got done dirty, and you know it.
That was actually. I'm going to give Justin that one. Like having Harry Kim guest star on Lower Decks, still an ensign. I think that's brilliant.
It is brilliant.
That's brilliant.
That would be the ultimate punishment.
Oh, jeez. Like, all right.
You know
Good
what?
job, Justin.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that if they actually take Garrett Wong's story into account. Like he tells this story about him like having a dream about Ensign Kim sleepwalking and stealing everyone's pips to put on his uniform.
Oh,
If he does that in Lower Decks, then I'd be
somebody.
cool with
All
it.
right. Somebody just shoot this to Mike McMahon. Like, just shoot it to Mike McMahon because, like, if he can
Go post this in shit
Post
posting
it
and
in
you'll get
shit
it.
posting. Yeah, they'll see it.
post
There you
It'll
go.
work its way
Yeah,
down.
they get all their jokes from shit posting anyway, so you know.
just
Thank you, Mr. Williams. That was excellent. Undercover Ensign.
Oh God! If this actually happens, I will be just so.
Is it
You
really
know what would be
undercover
funny?
though?
About 8 years ago, there was this bullshit post about upcoming Star Trek projects that used a bunch of Star Trek Online assets as advertising, and they were all for CBS formula dramas, like the procedural dramas. One was a hospital drama with an ambulance ship. There was another one that investigated interstellar crime. How funny would it be if they brought those to life?
It would be really cool to see like NCIS Starfleet.
Yeah, that was one of the
Yeah,
ones they talked
I
about.
would actually enjoy a Rescue 911 Star Trek edition.
I want.
And it got around with a wormhole generator.
I wanted to see Star Trek Jag.
I
Starring
wouldn't mind seeing
Sam Coughlin.
I wouldn't mind seeing that either.
Star
Pretty
Trek
good.
CSI, Star Trek.
Maybe an
So many
Academy
possibilities.
series. Maybe an Academy series.
How about a Mako series, guys?
Ugh.
That could work.
Oh, that bad. That okay? Never mind. I said nothing.
Hey, I'm on board with that. I'd
I
I'd
mean-
love to see the Makos or the Hazard team be.
The Hazard
You know,
team as
I
well.
would like
Canon.
I would like a series of nothing but William Riker using the holodeck to visit famous moments in Starfleet history.
And have sex with them.
You had to work that in, didn't you?
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Of course
Hey,
I
Riker
did. Look
doesn't
what I
have
changed
sex
my
with
name to,
anybody
Carlos.
Yes, I see it. I see it. Oh,
I would have suggested Star Trek Cheers, but we already had that in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
It was like the only thing.
Morn.
Like Jason's suggestion right now, like just knowing what Riker did on that episode, like particularly when he was talking with
do we
T'Pol,
really have
raising
to
the
do
program
this
and kissing her, like
every single week. Do we really?
Wait,
No,
wait,
actually,
wait,
no.
wait, I got a better
I
one.
really do think we should have an animated Riker's like sitcom on the Titan.
I've got it. Remember the alien from Future Imperfect?
oh jeez, that's such a disappointment.
Okay, wait a minute. You put him as the alien in a Star Trek version of Alf.
Okay, we're getting way off track here. Anyway, so the news here is that they're talking about stuff planned out into 2027, which is that's quite a ways. That means they're lining up things like budgeting and development resources, writers, so forth, which is pretty good to know, given that we're about to launch a new channel.
I'm really interested to see what Paramount or Viacom CBS does with the film side of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense. Like if I was Paramount or Viacom, Star Trek is the closest thing you have to being a multi
Faceted.
multifaceted, multi-touch point type franchise, right? It works. It's had demonstrable success on television. It's had demonstrable success on in movie theaters and as a feature film. It's had demonstrable success on streaming platforms. It's had this demonstrable success on the video games and books and comics. So I would really be interested. I'd really be interested to see, is Paramount really thinking about it that way? And are they, I know there's the films are starting and stopping, but it doesn't make sense that you'd have Kurtzman behind all things TV Trek and not put him behind all things movie Trek and, other Trek as well.
I wonder if he's pushing for that, Justin. And Ross.
Well, he did get his start in Star Trek with the 09 films.
Right.
I would be surprised if he wasn't saying something about bringing Trek back to the films, either in Kelvin or as something new.
I mean, I would love to see the Kelvin universe, continue. As much as people like to shit on those, I actually quite enjoyed. I enjoyed Beyond. I mean, I wanted to see where that continued, even though I didn't like the design of the Enterprise A. But hey, it's okay. This one, it was still an enjoyable film.
I want more Jayla. I will be happy if it's a film all about Jayla.
For a minute, I heard J-Lo, and I was agreeing.
Travis, you were going to say something.
I very much agree with Jesse Gender on this, in that I do believe that the Kelvin films should get at least one more, because the way she put it, Star Trek Beyond felt far more like an actual second film in a trilogy than Star Trek Into Darkness ever did. It very much feels like these characters can go further and become the characters that we know and love them to be in, Star Trek, the original series, Star Trek 1 through 6. And I do believe that it is on their radar to potentially do something with the films. Last I heard of any Star Trek film, I heard that it was on the table, just not exactly a priority at the moment. And I'm holding to my foolish optimism here that it will happen soon. It'll happen eventually. I'm
going to go with more eventually than soon. Because I think it would be premature to start working on a movie Star Trek right now, because there's the economic calculations behind its success right now is not in its favor. It's just not.
Yeah, I understand that.
I think what's needed is a long-running success on television, so that the desire for it, the call for it amongst fans, is something that grows organically out of its TV success, rather than something sort of imposed.
It has to lead with TV. I completely agree.
I definitely agree there. And what was I just about to say? I understand
something brilliant,
that I understand that the impact that Anton Yelchin's unfortunate death has on this franchise in terms of the film and this universe is not something that can easily be addressed or handled or overcome. But still, I do believe that something special can be done in terms of giving this cast that I believe is absolutely wonderful one last hurrah. And
do you think that they would have to start again from the Kelvin universe perspective, because all the actors are in other projects and everything now. So I don't know. Like, to me, it seems like they would have to actually start again to try and relaunch the universe.
I don't think they need to really relaunch anything. It would be a challenge to get everyone back together again, since, like you said, everyone is all spread out in different places. But I could see something like everyone's moved on in their careers. They're on different ships, and they're all brought together for one last mission together to highlight their growth.
Kind of like number one, kind of like the first Star Trek movie,
or like Sulu in Undiscovered Country.
Or they're all brought together by Chekhov's death.
Ooh.
I actually would not be against Chekhov being killed off in this universe. I like, as cold as that might sound, like, I believe that
it is an alternate timeline.
Like, I believe the death of him in that aspect and how it impacts the crew, I think, could be a really interesting thing to explore.
I don't.
Well, because we never really saw his death. And actually,
that's what we're saying.
I don't like that, and here's why. At the end of Beyond, Spock opens the picture from the Final Frontier, and in that picture we see Chekhov and Sulu and Kirk and Spock and Bones, and and there was something really nice. There was something kind of, even though the future is different, that scene was, these are the people I grow old with, and I get Anton Yelchin's dead, and I don't think recasting him is the right solution, but I'd rather see him like just Chekhov on a different assignment, on the Reliant, First Officer of the Reliant.
Why would that be a bad thing?
Chekhov on a different assignment, just the animated series.
I mean,
why?
Just
because it to me, it is to me, kind of spoils that moment and Beyond, where he looks at those pictures and you see that as an eventuality. That picture becomes, isn't just, that's the picture that.
But it doesn't.
Go ahead and finish.
That's the picture that keeps Spock in Starfleet, right? So he was going to resign. He was going to be leaving. It was that sense of family, and to take it away, it cheapens that moment for me. It feels.
How is it taking it away, though? It's reinforcing it. It's literally a death in the family.
Well, not only that, yes, there's a kind of a symmetrical quality to it, but their future is going to be different. They might not all stay together for that entire length of time that the original crew did.
And Spock even
the fact that they were able to stay together for that long is an incredible anomaly in any kind of military or paramilitary organization. People are going to get transferred. People are going to get promoted and go to different places. And top all that off, the dynamic of Spock and Uhura's relationship is going to dramatically change where everyone goes.
I mean, the whole point of the Kelvin universe is that it's a different things happen to the characters than what we saw in the Prime.
And even Spock, Prime told Spock that things would be different for him than it was for him in this universe. That it wasn't going to be the same, and we can actually expect that. So it wouldn't be really a surprise if they did do something like kill off Chekhov or stay just on another assignment. I mean,
revelation. Navarre and Kelvin is on Romulus.
Well, Spock
still seeks reunification, but since Vulcan is destroyed, Vulcans reunite with Romulans on Romulus.
Okay, that presumes that in the Kelvin universe, there's no Romulan supernova.
Yeah, that is.
There might not be.
Well,
there was no Sela to make the Tashiar survived in the Kelvin universe. And there was no Sela to make this Hobo Stargo supernova.
That's not canon, though.
Yeah,
that's the closest thing we have at the moment.
I detest that they made that the plot in Star Trek Online. I absolutely hate
They also hinted it in one of the books.
Supernova happened because the Iconians sabotaged the star or something. I was like,
They also
There's a
made
lot
it-
more to it than that.
Yeah. They
sucks.
also.
Well, it's not canon, and I don't say that dismissively, other than to say, no writer or producer is going to not do what they want to do just because Star Trek Online did it a certain way. So,
Yeah.
and as it should be.
They always wanted the books too, but hey, the
Also,
books aren't canon.
Speaking of stuff that's not canon and books,
Yes.
the next segment of the show.
Actually, that's 2 segments. Another segment beyond that, but I see where you were going. The next segment is about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, which is Alex Kurtzman. I don't
Still not fired.
still not fired. Says on a recent panel that the big bad of Season 4 is not going to be a person. It's going to be a thing. Didn't go any further than that, other than saying that they were going to be leaning more into the scientific aspects of the Star Trek universe in Season 4, and those two things may be related. The speculation in the one article that we have linked on the Trello.
The planet wants its dilithium child back.
Exactly. Something like that.
Why do I have a feeling that this article came from Screen Rant?
It did not.
It did not.
Good.
Plus, it's a quote from a panel discussion. So
I would somehow not be surprised if they pulled something like that and where the planet is going ape shit now that the child is gone. Child was apparently a control point.
No, that's water under the bridge. They've got other things to move on to. It's simply not a big enough deal. I mean, remember, people were mad because it wasn't a big deal. The fact that it turns out to be, a kid screaming in the night means there's not really much more to explore there dramatically. And they've got plenty of new things they can move on to.
Like the rebuilding of the Federation.
Like the rebuilding of the Federation.
And how Earth is going to be a primary rival of the Federation.
That I think would actually be really interesting. I think.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, by the way, I meant to say, Fasé, you get points this week for your Choo 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 shirt.
Of course.
Of course.
I wore that last week and no one noticed.
Did you? We'll have to look up the video for that. Sorry, we always get distracted by the fact that Lane is standing right next to you.
And naked.
He's not naked. He's
a Pokemon. Of course he's naked.
He's got his thing.
Lane is Travis's fidget spinner when Travis doesn't have a fidget spinner.
Is Travis Lane's fidget spinner?
Oh, that's something to think about.
Well, it's definitely Carlos's fidget spinner.
It's true.
Oh my God.
I totally.
Boo,
I
very
totally
boo.
get that. So, anyone want to speculate on what Kurt's maybe talking about in this?
I really don't care.
Okay, that's
The
one.
possibilities are absolutely endless. They could do anything. They could do everything. I'm hoping to see Klingons and Gorn again, but at the same time, we could finally see the Zenkethi on screen. We could go to Cardassia and the Bajoran since they're kind of close by. We could go to the Gamma Quadrant. We could go to the Delta Quadrant. Discovery can go absolutely anywhere. That's exciting.
We'll see Q.
No.
No.
Please no.
No, you gotta save him for Picard.
I personally would like to see Discovery potentially go to the Andromeda galaxy.
Ooh. See the Kelvins?
The other Kelvins.
I understood that reference.
Yeah. Oh, good.
That was actually
Did they
one of
make
the
it?
first.
Did they-
That was actually
did
one of
they-
the first TOS episodes that I was introduced to by my dad. So
Yeah,
They
that's
didn't-
one of my first.
They didn't make it back to the Andromeda Galaxy, did they?
No,
No,
but
they
they were
didn't.
well on their
They-
way.
Yeah.
They were well on their way. My favorite part of that episode, actually, and I desperately wanted to get some of these, were those those dodecahedronal cubes like that they would crush and then gone. You were gone.
I actually like that moment as Kirk kneels down and like scoops it in his hand. So like that, I like as much as I give like Kirk some flack, that is actually one of his better like emotional moments that really like stuck with me.
Was one of the first Star Trek episodes I ever saw.
Really?
I think that's one of my first Star Trek memories right there. That episode.
It was same with mine.
With the salt cubes.
I think it was like the third DVD that my dad got from the toss. Like he used to buy the DVDs that had like 2 episodes a disc on them.
Yeah,
and that was how I got introduced to toss. So.
I don't. Was that season 2 or season 3? Season 2.
I believe it was 2. Yeah, it was definitely 2. Definitely.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He didn't buy anything from season 3, and good on him for that.
Though there's the Enterprise incident.
There are
is one of my
2 episodes that I thoroughly enjoyed in that entire 24 episode season.
Which were they?
Enterprise incident.
Correct.
And Let That Be Your Last Battlefield.
Okay.
Ooh, that's not one of my favorites. That's the black, white. Yeah, it was okay, but yeah.
All right,
Spectre of the Gun.
What was the one that you wanted me to say?
Oh, I didn't have anything particular in mind. I was curious to see what you're saying. Second
the Tholian Web was season 2?
Tholian Web.
Tholian Web I've come to kind of like, but in the same way I still like it just didn't like it didn't.
It's something
really
that
The Day of the Dove.
Day of the Dove is also really good.
I don't remember Day of the Dove that
That's
well.
the one
honestly.
where the Klingons get on board and they've got that. There's that little glowy thing that amps up everybody's emotion.
All I can tell you is that when I first watched season 3, it got to a point where I was just like numb watching it. And by the time I got to the Way to Eden, I was desperate. I was desperate to like find any sort of redemption in this absolutely abysmal season of Star Trek, which admittedly
Space Abraham Lincoln
is still better than
Space Abraham.
Oh my
it's
God.
still better than the debut season of Next Generation.
For the World is Hollow and I Touch the Sky.
Okay, that one was not
That's a great title. That's a great title, though.
Like
I mean,
by the
you
time
did make it. You did make it to the Way to Eden. I mean, that is an episode about killing a bunch of hippies. So
I watched the entire season. I always remember this moment though, like because
Killing hippies. I guess Heinlein got involved.
I honestly, I love Spectre of the Gun, just because I'm a big Western fan, and the idea of seeing the OK Corral, having your heroes be the villains of the OK Corral, was the Clantons.
It was clever. It was clever.
Yeah.
It was clever.
This is why I think we should go back and do a rewatch of all the old shows, just for a fresh perspective.
I think it would be fun.
You know what the best episode in season 3 was, right?
What?
The one that brought us all together, whom gods destroy.
Oh, I actually need to rewatch that. But like,
if there was no whom gods destroy, I don't think I'd know Carlos or any of you.
If you had said the Way to Eden, I would have blurted it out, like straight up blurted it out, because I have. That is probably the Star Trek episode that I hate the most. Like, I straight up hate the Way to Eden. And the first time that I watched it, I was down here. I was on the couch. I had friends down here playing a board game, and they were kind of like jabbing me while I was just sitting here trying to focus on this, trying desperately to find redemption in this season. And finally, someone just said, like, someone finally said, like, Travis, why are you watching this? This sucks. And like something in my mind just broke. Like, I just like, it was just a moment of clarity. Like, oh my God, this season sucks. I don't remember a thing about that night. All I know is that later on, like, my roommate approached, like, hey, sorry, we were kind of like hard on you that night. I was like, dude, the episode fucking sucked. You guys were right. You're fine.
Now, there is
So,
one
yeah.
thing that all of Kelvin Trek is missing, a staple of every Star Trek that has come before. The crew needs to encounter, fight, and overcome space Nazis.
No,
They do not. That is such a tired trope in Star Trek. If
No,
they ever
1940s gangsters.
No, they were 1920s
Yo,
gangsters.
but that's not as
1920s
iconic.
I would love-
TOS did it.
I would-
DS9 did it at least once. Voyager did it once. Enterprise had a whole season premiere about
None
it.
of the movies did, though.
no,
I would love to see a Kelvin take on Sigma Iosha.
Ooh.
That would be fun.
Wasn't that kind of what what's his face wanted to do?
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Sigma Iosha.
Yeah.
Refresh
That's
my
where
mind. What is that?
The 1920s,
That was
the gangsters,
the gangster episode.
a piece of the
that's
action,
a piece of the action.
which is
Piece of
one
the
of
action.
my favorite.
Oh, it's a
That-
fun
that's
episode.
that's another episode that my dad introduced us to. It's a great episode.
I watch it once a year, and it makes me laugh as much now as it did when I was a kid and saw it the first time.
You are employing the double negative.
I honestly love all the alternate Earth episodes. Brennan Circuses and
Oh, that's one of my personal
Um,
favorites.
what was the other one that was alternate
You know,
Earthy?
the season 3 one that I like, if I remember correctly, All Our Yesterdays. Isn't that the Iconian one?
All Our Yesterdays
Iconians
is the
didn't
one
show up
right
in
before
TNG
Turnabout and Schroeder.
Right, but isn't that the Iconian one where they go back and
cannot remember.
through the portals and Spock and McCoy are stuck
Oh,
in
yeah,
a
then,
place?
yeah.
And-
The
yeah.
Iconians weren't on TOS, were they?
Yes, they were. They were introduced in TOS.
It
The
was?
Keeper, yeah, they had the
Oh.
portals. That's where the
Yes,
Iconian.
all our yesterdays. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know which episode I hate more now, Justice or A Way to Eden. They're both fuck. They both suck. They're both terrible.
You have really strong feelings there, Travis.
Oh God, you have no idea.
I do have some idea now.
No idea.
And of course, there's Miri. Nah, 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 nah.
I thought
I can
Miri
watch
was
that over
season
Way to
1.
Eden, man. Though, admittedly, if I have to find a saving grace in The Way to Eden, I do really kind of dig the concept of the planet being like just like acidic to the touch, and like I thought that was really cool and like
Ooh,
way to.
The Enterprise incident was in season 3 too.
Yeah,
this
we
is a-
this
said
is
that
actually a
about
good
10 minutes
season.
ago. Yeah,
This
we
is a good
talked
season.
about that 10 minutes ago, dude.
Yeah, I said that
Black
Enterprise incident was one of the
Invasion.
episodes I thoroughly enjoyed. So
And the children shall lead.
that is my quintessential so bad it's good.
That's I mean,
That is-
I like the little chant that they have. Hail,
No, the thing that really the thing that I love
all
about the
the
show,
angel, we will go far away.
the thing that really like got me
Then the
laughing
angel
about that
come to
episode
me.
was just the children themselves. When I was counting down my 30 worst episodes of Star Trek back in 2018, I reviewed And the Children Shall Lead, and I had to pause the episode multiple times because I was dying of laughter. And it was just like some of the expressions on these kids' faces, like just like there was one point where one was like,
Remember
"Oh,
this?
it's chocolate and
That's what
vanilla.
they
They're
did,
both
huh?
white," or something like that. And like Christine Shep was like, "That was your unpleasant surprise," and the kid's expression that followed is just like, I was just dying.
Okay, we're going to move on
yeah.
because
Yes, we're getting
this
off
wasn't-
track. I'm
this wasn't
sorry.
meant to be a season 3 retrospective. We're going to move to the topic that that Sun jumped the gun on a little bit, but it's still a great topic, and that is something that addresses one of the issues we had with the first part of season 3 of Discovery, which was all the things that happened to Michael Burnham in that year between when she showed up and the Discovery showed up. And we kept complaining about, we don't know what any of them were. And it's just these little sides that she has with book. And well, now speaking of books, now we get to find out what happened in a new Star Trek Discovery book called Wonderlands. How many of you are planning to read this book?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out what happened, but it means canon.
I did not know about this, but I am intrigued. I might maybe I have to get an audiobook or something.
I just came across this story today. So
Who's the writer, Carlos?
That is a good question. Let's find out.
Una McCormick.
Ooh,
Okay.
that'll be a good one then.
Una's a very good author. She's done. I forget what else. Damn.
Yeah,
She does the Voyager stuff.
This is one of the stories I don't like. I don't know that I want to know about what Michael did in the year.
Why? I didn't know that I'd want to see it on the show, but why not a book?
Because I got really tired of her talking about her year and how much it changed. I just...
But that's just it. She only mentioned the change, not what happened.
I'm just saying, like, I don't even know if I want to...
So much change, Fase.
So much change.
Now add a little tear, and you've got Michael Burnham down. Well, I would be interested in reading the book just because I would like to see if really the story is as good as it could be. On one level, I'm not sure I'd want to know either in terms of wanting to see it portrayed in the show. But book would, if they do something actually interesting, sure.
I guess we can read the book and see, why she became a crying mess that we see her in season 4.
Nothing that happened in that year turned her into a crying mess. It was a human growing up as a Vulcan repressing their emotions.
Yes, I agree with you there.
A crying mess.
And crying by itself does not make you a mess. Also, Andrew Schmidt, you schmuck. So much change, so many hairstyles. He says, put that one up there if you would, Justin. He's out of control. You're out of control, Andrew.
Be quiet, Andrew.
Okay, so let's move on next to our next topic as we move out of Star Trek and into, I guess, Star Wars. And that is the big story this week that Gina Carano, was fired from her role in The Mandalorian. And this has been for a tweet that she made, actually the latest in a series of tweets that she's made over the last year that became increasingly offensive to many people. This one, of course, was a tweet that compared the so-called persecution of Republicans to that of Jews in the time leading up to and through the Holocaust.
That's not what it was.
It's what she said. Regardless, she was fired, and the internet is up in arms, one way or the other. However, people are choosing to interpret what her tweet was and Disney's action in firing her. So, where are we weighing in on this particular controversy this week? Let's start with you, son.
Well, first of all, it wasn't a tweet. It was literally an Instagram post that she shared of somebody else's post. It was a tweet about, or it was a Instagram post about how the Nazis, how it got to the point that the Nazis were able to round up the Jews so easily in World War II, during the Reich. And that was because the government had fomented hate among the Germans against Jewish people. And if Germans could do that, how easily could it be done here with someone who had, depending on someone's political beliefs?
Well, I don't know how that could happen just as a Hispanic.
You want to tell us a little bit more about that, Ron?
No, the enemy for the last 4 years has been the brown man, and it's ironic that she makes this sort of comparison when it's the tone deafness that I think is well rewarded in her being fired.
All right.
She didn't. Well, here's the thing, though. She didn't compare anything. She just re-Instagrammed the image.
Son, if she reposts it, that's her opinion. Period. That's
her
it.
opinion is the opinion is don't hate people just because someone tells you to. That was the opinion.
No.
Yes.
No,
Go and read
her
it.
opinion was in trying to draw a comparison between two things that were utterly unalike.
No, it wasn't.
Yes,
That's the
it was.
projection of the person who tweeted.
Because look at what she said. What she said was that look how easily they did this to Jews in
No, that's the
when
no, that's the projection.
That's
of the
what
person,
you just said. That's what you just said, son.
That is the projection of the person who was upset at her about it.
Well, then tell me what she did say, because
she literally just posted the Instagram image.
Hold on. Jason, go.
I'm going to pull it up.
We don't need is yelling and fighting.
Says here, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views?
It's radically different.
That is a middle-of-the-road response.
And it's a tone-deaf one for the January. What happened on January 6th?
This is not her first time sharing tweets like this.
That is a middle-of-the-road response.
It doesn't matter.
It's still one thing that we are all forgetting is that Gina Carano has been making a lot of posts and statements. This has left me so emotionally exhausted. So
if you want to make
in
the
addition
argument,
to this,
let Ross
he's also been making posts about anti-vaccination, about anti-mask, saying that there was massive election fraud that at a scale that would have overturned the election, and all sorts of other debunked and false claims that are reflecting poorly on her employer, Disney. And that's the point. That is what's going on here. Her posts are in effect reflecting poorly on the people that she represents as an employee, as an actor who is employed by Disney. And when you reflect poorly on your employer, they often have a clause in your employment that they can terminate your employment if you begin to reflect badly on them. That's what happened here. Disney felt that she was reflecting poorly on them, and she was fired. It wasn't because social media rose up against her. They've been looking for a reason to terminate her for a while.
Let's also point out the fact that the internet has been trying to get her fired for a while.
I think she's been doing a fine job of that on her own. She didn't need the internet's help. But
it was the internet that came after her for the pronoun shit in the first place.
Beep boop.
Yes.
I'd say that was a more accurate response considering how she was being bullied about it.
I
promised Jason he could go next, then you can go, Travis.
Go ahead, Travis.
Go ahead,
yeah,
Jason.
I mean, I tend to come down on seeing it the way Son sees it. We're just and I get what you're saying, Raul, about it being kind of tone deaf. Here's the deal. Whether we're talking about Cambodia, whether we're talking about Nazi Germany, whether we're talking about Rwanda, Holocausts do not happen. Genocides do not happen, zero to slaughter overnight. There is a systemic dehumanization of the target that takes place over, months, years. In 1920, when Hitler was, originally calling for this type of action against the Jewish people, he was laughed out. Even in anti-Semitic Germany, it took him rising to power. It took him systemically waging a campaign of dehumanization against the Jewish race to get to a point to where the people would be willing to round them up in cattle cars, ship them off to a labor camp to slave until they were, dying, and then just execute and dispose of their bodies. We're in a place, regardless of which side of the politic you're on, where what we saw January 6th demonstrates the precarious situation we find our country in. As long as we continue to dehumanize each other, as long as we continue to find ways to remove the value of people because of their perspectives of how government should work and things of that nature, we're running headlong into this. You know, we joke about Star Trek shit posting, but one of the things that I see routinely in there is this notion that even the liberals get the wall. Like this we're things will not get better until we have empathy for one another, regardless of our political affiliations and beliefs. And that's whether or not you take that from what she said, you know, that's what I take from it.
Well, and that's one thing that has really disturbed me about this whole thing is the amount of absolute bile that I see people spewing at her over this. It's unhealthy. It's not right. She posts unpopular things. She says unpopular things. She says things you disagree with. Okay. She gets fired from her job because her employer feels that she's representing them badly. Okay. That doesn't mean it's okay to imply that she could be thrown into the sun with no loss.
Sure. Yeah.
And another thing that this has drastically done is that I don't know if you guys know of Liana Kersner, Liana K, is a victim of Gamergate who was trying to be center and is also Jewish. And because of this Carano stuff, has been getting a whole bunch of hate from both left and right about her being a Jew. And yeah, that's something that has to stop.
Okay, I don't know the case, so I don't.
Something I observed earlier. In social media, it's very easy to get roped into groupthink and to follow trends of dislike and hate and the worst aspects of cancel culture. Like Jason said, we need to have empathy for each other. We need to continue to see people as human beings despite our differences in political belief. Otherwise, we're just going to radicalize each other and start hating each other, and we're going to degenerate as a society. If that happens.
We can all have our disagreements. God forbid we do. It's the nature of the beast. But at the end of the day, we're still human. You still got to remember that's a person that has feelings. You cannot. You may dislike what they do, but state your opinion and be done with it. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be nasty. You don't have to be hateful. Just say you dislike it and move on.
It's one thing to criticize what someone has done or what someone has said, and I think that's entirely fair to say. If you want to call Beep Boop tone deaf, or you want to whatever. If you think what a fan film producer does, raising millions of dollars, and you want to criticize those actions, that's fine. I think when you get to a point to where you say, that person could be walled or that person could just be gone, and it doesn't. That's when I think it's toxic and it's dangerous, and it's not toxic. In the sense that I'm attacking that person, it's just toxic on my own soul, and that's what is really sad about all this is that like everybody is like, and it isn't just her, it's all of it. I just see this toxicity in even my own soul at times about the things that I've said, and Joe called me out in the chat that we have. I agree. Like when I don't want to be a person who wishes or wants somebody dead or doesn't see the value in someone's life just because I dislike them or dislike what they've done.
And
Travis gets to go next.
I very much sympathize with that viewpoint. I cannot say that I have never fallen for mob mentality. When James Gunn was, being blasted for his decades-old tweets, I was right there. I was very much like, well, good riddance, that kind of thing. And it took some time for me to really reflect on that and, like just come to realize like I was drastically affected by just social media and mob mentality. And it's something that I still have to watch myself with. That said, I do like my friend Rob Barnetta, he said it best. Sorry to name drop you, Rob. I have no idea if you're watching or not. You play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. And I do believe that Gina's prize here is fully justified. Granted, this is me kind of saying this after my sister's friend actually got some very real Nazi propaganda placed on her windshield, of all things, on her car in Spokane. Like, just reading what was placed on her windshield and seeing someone like Gina like try and make any kind of comparison between the disdain that people can have towards conservatives or Republicans or whatever, and trying to compare that to what happened in what happened in Nazi Germany like that.
See, that's the point that gets me. I don't understand why people keep saying it's a comparison to the Holocaust. It's not. It is not. It is a comparison to what happened before it. The animosity that was built up to allow it.
Well, that led to it, yes. I don't think that changes much. Go ahead and finish, Travis, and we can come back to this.
I mean, there really isn't much more to say. Like, regardless of what exactly it's alluding to, the two are not comparable in any way. And, like, I don't see how she could have even, like, drawn the bridge there.
But what Sud is saying is she didn't compare Republican persecution to the Holocaust. That's
when you use an expression like "how is it any different?" That is a comparison.
That's a comparison.
Yeah, but
that is a comparison. That's how you phrase a comparison.
It doesn't even say Republican. This could literally be a Democratic talking point,
and it would be just as wrong.
What it's saying is the devaluing of people for any reason is problematic, whether it's over their race, whether it's over their religion.
I don't think anyone disputes that, Jason. No one disputes that. The problem is that when you look towards the Holocaust and how the Jews were treated leading up to it, and try to use that as your comparison for what you're undergoing as a victim, that cheapens that experience. It's not the same experience. It's not even close to the same ballpark of the experience.
And it's extremely, again, it's tone deaf. It just has no bearing on reality once you mention it.
What the Jews experienced started somewhere.
It started thousands.
No. I get it.
You're not being. Well, let me say it real clearly. Jews were persecuted in Europe for thousands of years, and right after the diaspora. So this lead up goes way beyond Nazi Germany and can never happen to the conservatives of America. Never. Because you know what? If BLM was the one storming the gates of the Capitol, those men would have been killed by the dozens, and only 5 people were dead by the end of the day, and only 1 protester. How is that a similar comparison? It's not.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, I'm not disputing your point. I mean, your point, I think, is well taken. I just think that you run into trouble when you start to draw historical comparisons between two things that really are fundamentally not alike. Perhaps being Jewish is not a set of beliefs. I mean, it is religiously, but in this case, in Germany's case, it was a case of race. Whereas being conservative or liberal or whatever, those are choices that people make.
And yet we live in a time
how they live their lives.
And yet we live in a time where being one political party or the other is seen as being as being a race.
I don't see it that way.
No, I don't
And
see
I
it.
think
that
most
way.
You may not
I
see it that way,
I don't
but
see it.
I am constantly bombarded by shit like that on a daily basis.
Well, then you're hanging out with the wrong people because
yeah, I'm hanging out with the wrong people on
Right.
the left.
But
I disagree.
Carlos,
I know plenty. But most of my friends are left, and they don't believe anything that you just said.
Yeah,
That's
No
painting with a
shit.
broad brush. That's why you can't just say, "Oh, it's only the left that does that," because
I didn't say only the
you
left
said
did it.
all
You
the
just did.
I said
that
all
you
of the people that I know
Yeah.
do it are
are
on the left. And they're all
All right,
extremely
stop.
woke assholes.
Exactly.
Move on to another topic, please.
No,
'cause
This is
not
a
unless
topic
people
that is
already move
definitely worth discussing,
It is.
but
I'm
it
not-
is
I'm not
far
gonna move
beyond
on
the scope
because-
of our usual show.
Well, sure, it's a big deal, you guys, and we should be able to talk about things like this.
Yeah.
Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, we're going to disagree on certain points, but it doesn't make things better to just go, "Oh, I'm uncomfortable. Let's move on." That's not-
right, because until we talk about it, until we have a discussion, right? I mean that's the problem. We just throw shit under the rug, and we be all polite. So when shit gets real, then that's when we can't handle the conflict. I mean, and that's when it becomes really easy to dehumanize somebody, right? Like, what's great about this is that I like and respect all of you here, and we can have a disagreement, and we can hopefully learn from each other and grow from each other, and have new viewpoints. And as long as this dialogue continues, yes, it may get heated, it may get passionate, and that's fine. But when we shut down debate and we shut, this is the problem of Trump. Trump didn't debate, right? He didn't engage in ideas. He attacked the person. He attacked the character. He dehumanized his political opponents rather than engaging in honest, open dialogue. And that's the temptation, that we shut down dialogue because it's uncomfortable. We should be uncomfortable. We should have, we should be faced with our cognitive dissonances and all that, and hopefully that's what helps forge a better union, not sweeping shit under the rug and causing us to then sow discord and distrust against people that, quite honestly are some of my favorite people. I love talking to you guys every Friday night, and I like talking about this throughout the week in our group, and it's helps me grow as a person, and I hope in some ways I've influenced everyone here as a person.
Yeah, I'm all for having a conversation as long as it doesn't turn into a shouting match, which that was starting to. So I'm all for good.
We were fine, and you shouldn't mistake passionate discussion with shouting. I don't think we were shouting.
No,
There's a little bit of shouting.
Yeah, it's a little bit shouting.
Those were raised voices, but that's not the same
A
thing.
healthy amount of shouting. This
Shouting
was
is when you're
a little shouting.
unreasonably yelling, and that's not what was happening. We have different points of view, and we were expressing them with passion. I think that's fine.
Yep.
I live in the South, and living in the South, to some of the trans communities that I'm in,
Mhm.
labels me as Republican automatically. And it's sad that that's a thing.
Yeah, it should be.
And and it gets worse than that in the same vein, because in that weird ass thought that some of these people have that I am in communication with, I will never be able to leave being a Republican, because I am always going to be the villain, even though I am trans, just like them. Even though I may have more liberal views than some of them do, I will always be seen as the bad guy, someone who's just pretending, someone who's not really trans.
Oh man, like
That sounds
Now,
like
I'm
an
not
issue of,
saying that Republicans don't do the same thing. What I'm saying is, and what I've been trying to say for like the past ever when we have these arguments, Carlos,
Mm-hmm.
is that I am in the middle of this group because of who I am that have outrageous views on my side.
Mm-hmm.
And
And I get that. You've said that before, and I understand what you're saying.
And here I am trying to be in the center of, you can't hate these people, and I'm being shoved into, that othering. And when I look at Carano's statement, I'm like, she's literally saying, don't hate people. just because of their political beliefs. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or if you're Democrat or if you're Green or if you're Purple People Eater. Don't hate people because of their political beliefs, their religious beliefs, who they are, what they are, who they love, where they come from, whether they're male, female, somewhere in between, somewhere neither in it, somewhere not in the universe. Don't hate people just because a government or news or a mob says it's okay to hate those people. Because the moment you consider them those people, you can do what the Nazis did. Because the Nazis didn't just do it to Jews. They did it to the Romani. They did it to the gay. They did it to the trans.
They did it to the artists. They did it to the Christians.
Yeah, and I mean,
Well, and I don't disagree with anything you said, son. Other than I think that you are. I don't read what she said and take away from it that that's what she meant. I can take away from it what you're suggesting, that hatred like that does lead to a lot of harm to a lot of people. But I don't see enough of that in what she actually said in the text of the words that she wrote or spoke that goes anywhere near as far as you do. I agree with what you said. I don't agree with the kind of comparison she was trying to create in service of victimhood.
And
that's another problem I have in all of this. It seems like no matter what thing is posted online, the online space, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or wherever the hell, is looking for the most outrageous and outrageable vision of whoever posts whatever.
Well, that may be true, but there is a context with her. Ross pointed it out earlier. There's a context in the things she said publicly, the things that that she has purveyed publicly, the things that she has spoken publicly, that provide a context to what we saw happen this week.
Was it Gwyneth Paltrow? Isn't she contracted by Disney? Because isn't she the one that runs that gooky anti-vaxxer website?
The vagina candles, the ones that explode. She's done some out there things, and I think Disney said that they aren't going to bring her in for anything in the future.
Disney, yeah, he's pretty quick on that one. Yeah, the whole thing with Gina is like, if this was a one-time thing, I'm sure Disney would have been like, okay, whatever, but this wasn't a one-time thing with her.
Right, and this is why I look at this. This is why I look at this more like I would at a sexism case than anything. Because this is a woman who has been consistently gone after on Twitter and Instagram by people for what, 2 and 3 years now? And every time it goes too far, it's because she fights back. She finally posts something about it.
Travis has been trying to say something. And I interrupted you doing that. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. It gives me time to think and formulate my words. I very much I see what Son is saying, and I very much agree with it. The one thing I would say is I feel that it would be easy to believe that that was the message that Gina was trying to convey if she were able to formulate that kind of sentiment with her own words, rather than repost something that somebody else said that made a very tone-deaf comparison. Like, look, regardless of what her intentions were, she should have known. Like, she should have seen that comparison and connected the dots to just how very tone-deaf it is. And if she thought, if she got something from it in the term, in the aspect of don't hate people, hate will only lead to, further problems in the future, there are other ways to say that. And there are more effective ways. Like, son, the way you did it, I thought was brilliant. Like, you really, like, sorry, I'm stuttering. You put the message out there for us to hear, and you did
you spoke from the heart. You spoke from the heart.
Emotionally, and it's something I fully agree with. And I bet, like, hearing, like, your struggle, like your personal experience and struggles being a member of the trans community in the South. I actually have been talking a lot with a friend that I've made recently who is also a trans who lives in Texas, and she has spoken a lot about her own hardships of the community she lives in and how people view people like her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very powerful. She's told quite a bit of stories that have, like, they've immersed me, and it's like I don't know what it's like to live as a trans in the South among any group of friends, among any political belief. But again, like, if Gina wanted to convey that message of, like, no hatred to anyone, there are better ways to do it.
And better comparisons to make with regimes that actually target and persecute people for political beliefs.
Khmer Rouge,
like Cuba.
My own
Yeah.
Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba.
Yeah, I don't think that there's, I think everything you said there, Travis, is right. I think the one thing I would say is we also live in meme culture.
That is true.
And
Oh
so,
my God!
You
Yeah.
think, like I said,
so I mean, listen, Disney has. I don't dispute Disney's right to make these types of decisions. I do think that, like, I appreciate the perspective that this was a wrong-headed comparison, but I also see the point that the reality is that when you look at, like, how much social media outrage directed towards her has been around dehumanizing her and destroying her value, kind of proved her point in a few ways. Not to the severity of the Holocaust, absolute, but she's now getting death threats and things like that. Just
cool.
just that perspective there.
Okay, well, thank you all for your points of view on that. We're going to move on unless anyone has any final thoughts they want to share. All right.
Just remember this. You can have your disagreements with others, but don't threaten them with bodily harm. I mean, you disagree, just disagree and walk away. There's no need to try to make their lives hell over it. It's just silly. Just don't do it. Just walk away. Remember, there's a person on the other end that you're directing that to, and you wouldn't want that done to yourself.
love each other, goddammit.
And take off, damn it.
We've
Okay.
had enough hell for the last year.
All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna jump out of the frying pan and into the fire with our next topic, which is the saga of Joss Whedon, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse every week. Joss Whedon.
It's almost like people were trying to warn us about Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and actually, what we found out this week, there were a couple of different stories that came out with this, and one of which was it Charisma? No, it was not Charisma Carpenter. It was
Michelle Trachtenberg.
Michelle Trachtenberg, right? Who said that back at the time of Buffy's production,
She was 15 at that point, by the way.
yeah, she was a minor. He was not allowed to be in the room with her alone, without another person there, which actually says a lot about how much people thought or knew or suspected, even back then, when his public persona was very much of this sort of liberal feminist. He was considered like a preeminent feminist male for a long time, and it's turning out that that's not quite the perspective of the people who worked alongside and for him. So he has been well, we reported last week about how he was taken off of removed as showrunner from the new HBO series, what was it called? The Victorians?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now this week with this additional
Wasn't
news.
it called the Nevers?
The Nevers, thank
Oh,
you.
yeah,
Set in the
yeah.
Victorian area, called the Nevers. Thank you, son. And then, of course, Sarah Michelle Gellar said this week also that she no longer wanted her name associated. She said she was proud to have her name associated with Buffy. She was very proud of her work in that series, but she did not want her name to be associated with Joss Whedon anymore. So these are like three different statements that came out this week, all pretty damning of Joss Whedon. How did those land with the rest of you this week?
It's not surprising. I mean, considering what we know, Josh Whedon, it's just not surprising at all.
I mean, I'm surprised. Like, again, as you point out, Carlos, Whedon was seen as kind of the leftist feminist, virtuous, non-mansplaining, male and non-patriarchal male. The feminist male of the 21st century, and he's failed on what seems to be all fronts. I know there's a lot of talk about like the Pence rule being anti-feminist, not willing to be alone with another woman, but I'd at least rather make that rule about myself than have other people make that rule about me and 15-year-old girls.
Mm-hmm.
So do we call that the Whedon rule?
Or not PewDiePie, who was the streamer who didn't stream alone with women? I forget.
Ninja?
Dr. Disrespect.
No, it was Ninja.
Ninja.
Yeah.
Dr. Disrespect had a public affair on his wife.
Oh.
That.
Like, I'm getting some serious flashbacks to Cosby right now, and I don't know if I've ever said it, but when the revelations, or no, not well, I guess you can call them revelations, got revealed to us on Cosby, I put myself in the corner of denial and I nailed myself to the wall because I was a staunch defender. I was a huge fan of Cosby for years. And, it was just one of those things where I just did not want to believe that this guy, who I personally knew as this goofy father figure, this guy who said, talking about how our children are trying to teach us a lesson, or trying to talk to us, we're not listening. We need to listen to our children. That kind of, like, a guy who had the right ideas, seemed to have just a really good heart. I didn't want to think that he was even potentially capable of hurting the people that he did.
It's so weird, isn't it? It's almost like Hollywood is full of professional liars.
And
it isn't just Hollywood, though. I mean,
no, it isn't just Hollywood.
Anywhere.
Hollywood's liars just have a more public stage.
Well, we mentioned her a lot on this show. Jessie Gender actually released a video on Joss Whedon yesterday, and she made the same point. I'm not very familiar with Joss Whedon's work and what exactly he has done in terms of pro-feminism and whatnot. But hearing her say, he was responsible for giving us some really strong female characters in very diverse roles in shows like Firefly and shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And she did mention, when we see this kind of behavior from people who give us entertainment or give us laughs, gives us all these great memories, we want to believe that the people who give us these memories, they believe what they are giving us. They believe in the diversity. They believe in that feminism. They believe in those great ideals that they are just putting into their shows or putting into their entertainment, putting into whatever they are giving us. And when that turns out not to be the case, look,
It's
it's
Disappointing.
Well,
Yeah.
oh, it's
Here's the thing:
But
is that
the thing I would like to take away is that the ideals are still good to uphold. Having strong female leads, having male representation that isn't baritone and bullying on screen. I mean, these type of things that he created as a standard in his products seemed almost unbelievable, light years ahead of what everybody else was doing. And the problem was that he himself could not contain his demons. And this is another thing I've talked about it with Sun privately. It's mental health, and we need a better program for mental health. This is honestly and I'm not excusing his behavior. I'm just saying that this is probably the cause of it.
Well, hypocrisy knows no bounds. I mean, that's the thing. Like I know, like, while the Joss Whedon story is making play on, in entertainment news, I don't know how many of you follow, evangelical theology, and that side. But this week, a prominent, Christian theologian and apologist, Ravi Zacharias, he passed away last year, but his ministry just released the results of a third party investigation where there were him basically abusing masseuses, who were giving him massages, potential rape. I mean, and this guy is like, when you think about, I mean, and I don't know, and I know this is context probably lost on you, but he's been one of the most prominent, respected, conventional Christian theologians and Christian apologists in the last 50 years. So I mean, it isn't just the right or the left that's full of hypocrisy. Sex feels good. I mean, that's the reality of it, and it's lust. I don't want to sound prudish, but lust can be extremely problematic. Lust left unchecked can become extremely damaging and destructive.
Just look at the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's putting the onus on. It's finding the wrong onus. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying in terms of the lure of sex and sexual gratification, but this kind of conduct really is an abuse of power first, and that was the role that he was in. That's the role Joss Whedon was in.
Absolutely.
As a director, as the head of an entire evangelical church, you're in a huge position of power, and we see this over and over again, where it is generally men, but not always, in positions of power who end up doing this, and it's not really, it's not because of sex. Sex is the way they wield their power.
I look at Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, back when
you have a closer comparison than any of this. Weinstein.
Oh,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The ultimate power broker.
Because Weinstein was literally a shot-for-shot example of Joss Whedon. Was heralded as a feminist kind of icon of Hollywood for all of the pro feminism and pro advancement of women's stuff that he was doing, and yet behind the scenes he's literally wielding the power to hire and fire women over having sex with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I find the Weinstein case interesting because his brother is the exact opposite. His brother was married when he was young, stayed married faithfully to his wife, and had his entire career ruined by his own brother. So, who he can't even go outside because his name is everywhere. It's an amazing story. It's really, really damaging to everybody involved, the victims and the propagators as well.
It's because we wind up treating the entire we wind up treating incidents like Klingons do. The dishonor of one is shared as a dishonor among the family and even among the children that come later.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and it doesn't help that we put these people on pedestals.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, here's the deal: we all have flaws, we all have faults, we are all imperfect, and what's really bad is when you have someone like Whedon or who extols certain virtues that we want propagated. This is the kind of the same thing that's wrong with like religious figures, right? Because they too are imperfect. So when you put those people up on a pedestal as examples, they will always tarnish. They will always fail, and you'll always be left wondering, what went wrong.
Well, what that does, though, is I completely agree with you. What that does, though, is it makes it incumbent upon us to reconcile that. Here's a classic case: Martin Luther King Jr. Who was he cheated on his wife many times, repeatedly. The FBI had tapes of him having sex in hotel rooms. And you can look at that on one level and say this is very disappointing. Again, another powerful figure who's engaged in sexual misconduct, etc. But at the same time, does that outweigh what he was able to accomplish, and does it tarnish the sincerity of what he was trying to do in the rest of his life? And each of us has to answer that on our own. If we ultimately, if we're trying to decide on do we want to revere this man or not, with his faults or despite them,
I think that the what we're dancing around the subject is that all people have faults, and they can be great faults, horrible faults, but all people can also achieve great good, even with those great faults. So there's a dichotomy that we have to take people for who they are, and all of their accomplishments together, and their faults and failures. So you can hold up like, for instance, Son and I agree on one major point. Don't hold the artist accountable for their actions outside of their art. And the reason is because the art itself should be the crowning achievement of that artist's existence, because they are an artist in the first place.
Right. You're saying that the art should be judged on its own merits.
Absolutely. And things like Martin Luther King, the Kennedys is another great example of people that did tremendous good for the wide swath of people, and yet were horrible to their own families. Monstrous, you could even say.
One of my favorite examples is Richard Wagner. Flight of the Valkyries, the freaking Wedding March. He's got credited with so many incredibly influential pieces of music that have influenced centuries. And the guy was an anti-Semite. The guy was not a very nice person. he was quite the scumbag. But his music is transcendence, and you can still value the music and understand the absolute dirtbag the composer was.
Yeah, Bing Crosby, terrible to his family, to his kids, awful.
Absolutely,
despite being quite wholesome on screen.
Exactly.
Here's one. Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor.
Really?
Left his wife and kids to pursue acting, and then eventually became the Doctor.
Huh.
Damn.
Also the creator of Gumby destroyed his own family because of his popularity and left into the hippie movement. This is a true story.
Gumby, damn it.
No, I love Gumby, but it ruined my love of Gumby. But I try not to let it ruin my love of Gumby, but it happens.
I was more of a Pokey fan myself.
I'm sure you were, Carlos. I'm sure you were.
Everybody. I mean, here's my take. Everybody's going to do really good things in life, and everybody's going to do really bad things in life. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life.
Oh my God!
Oh, no. I thought he was going to do the whole mat and the weight of the feather and this elegant comparison.
I knew he was going there.
You are a horrible man.
Terrible man.
Finally, I get to put this up tonight.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on to our next topic. Thank you again for another engaging.
Is anyone else craving Jello after talking about O.J. Simpson?
I do love.
No.
Bill Cosby,
I
I
not-
want some
not
pudding
OJ.
pops.
Pudding
I was
pops
just-
were discontinued in the 2000s.
Yep. Okay.
I
Let's
do-
You can't
I
make
do-
your own.
I do have one last thing to say. I do have one
not
last thing.
even Anthony, especially.
This whole treating the good treating the bad as overcoming the good is some of the resentment that caused damages to the Abraham Lincoln statues and all that kind of stuff when they were defacing all of the Confederate statues in the past 4 years.
Say a little bit about that. I'm not sure what you mean.
Okay, so when I can't remember which one it was. I can't remember if it was a Washington statue or an Andrew Jackson statue. But when that one was torn down, the reasoning the mob gave was because so-and-so owned slaves. Well, yeah, but that person also started this country. This country now that has supposedly no slaves. Because we eventually realized that our ideals meant we would have to. And,
Yes, after a lot of people died.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that, again, it's the same thing. Yeah, they did this great thing and they did this terrible thing. And if we literally have to tear down statues because of the terrible thing, then nobody can ever be anything or do anything.
My therapist last week said, "Never, just like it's a common phrase, but I mean it's about as simple as it gets for this topic. Don't meet your heroes. Don't try and like find out about them. Don't try and like." Everybody, like, there was always going to be somebody, like, there's always going to be something about somebody that is going to set someone off in the way that they don't like. And I'm not trying to say that everybody, like, I have no idea where I was going with this. I'm sorry. Because right now it feels like I almost feel like I'm trying to say, like, everybody has a skeleton in their closet that makes them a monster when that's not what I'm trying to say at all. Because
I didn't take it. What I took from what you were saying was that you shouldn't over idealize the people you look up to because they are going to be flawed. Everyone has flaws.
Yeah.
William Shatner.
Carlos
Well, that's not flaws. That's flaw. Sorry, guys.
That's just hiring the wrong person to run your social media.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's its own bad decision. And thank you, Andrew. I am the worst. Okay.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, never ending, everlasting.
We're moving on to our next topic, and WandaVision is the next topic. I managed to watch this week's episode like just an hour before our podcast here, so it was a busy week. So I'm raring to go on this one. This was episode 8, was it?
6.
6? Really? That's all? Whew. Anyway, sorry, it's going to be 8 total. But this was the episode that was set in the 90s on the television portion of WandaVision.
Oh man! Like
we now return you to your regularly scheduled 90s.
I was going to do the Malcolm in the Middle stinger for the intro today, and I forgot.
Oh no!
You should feel bad, Ross.
Unfair.
Isn't Friends though the stereotypical '90s sitcom like or Seinfeld?
But Friends is about a bunch of single individuals making in the city. They were trying to emulate Malcolm in the Middle for this one to give kind of a central focus to the kids.
That's true. That's
Malcolm
true.
in the Middle is one of my favorite shows. Like,
Great
look,
show.
Full disclosure,
Great.
Full disclosure. Before
Is that your
now,
lawyer, Justin? Is that your lawyer?
Kitty,
It's very
Hey, it's
effective.
not my cat doing the photobombing
He
today.
works for catnip.
It's
Sorry,
just,
Travis, go
it's
ahead,
just a
Travis.
shame that actor got short-term memory loss.
Oh.
So, full disclosure, all the episodes that happened prior to this, I didn't exactly realize that they were modeled after like existing shows. Like
very specific ones.
Yes, very specific ones. It wasn't until this where I realized, oh, they're doing this kind of approach with every single episode. Like I didn't watch shows like Everybody Loves Raymond or That 70s Show or whatnot.
Blasphemy.
Not blasphemy. There's like 1,700 sitcoms out there, and I just haven't seen those. I've seen.
Did you watch Third Rock?
Let him finish
Third
his
Rock was
point.
good. Third
Let
Rock
him
was
finish
good.
his point. Blaine, I'm sorry, Travis. Go ahead.
Blaine.
Blaine.
Gotta go.
Your building's on fire, Justin.
Oh my goodness.
It does look like it.
He gets dance music now.
But like as soon as I saw like the credits sequence, like the intro title, and just even the music cues, and like the kids like walking around and addressing the camera, like Bob's. I was like, oh my god, they're doing this. They are. I love it. Like everybody fit like the Malcolm in the Middle like character archetype perfectly here. I was geeking out for all of the non-Marvel reasons in a Marvel show. Like, what else needs to be said here?
That was us a month ago with the Dick Van Dyke Show and Bewitched.
Mm-hmm.
That was you guys a couple of years ago with Stranger Things.
Yeah. Indeed.
Oh, I feel so sorry for those
Okay,
guys.
so let's dive into this because obviously on the television front, they managed to make use of the 90s sitcom tropes in some very inventive ways to shine a light on the now much bigger emerging picture around what's going on behind the story of this show, as we're seeing some frayed edges, actually kind of literally, in what Wanda is doing in this show, and that she may in fact actually kind of be the villain. How did this strike you guys this week?
I don't think she's a villain. She's kind of both the protagonist and the antagonist at the same time.
She's living in denial.
This is her conflict, her conflict, her own war against herself, and everyone else is kind of reacting to it. She's desperately trying to resolve her own trauma and hurts, and she's dragged so many people down with her, as people who experience trauma sometimes do. Except, she can bend reality to her will,
Yeah.
which complicates.
I don't think that Wanda's the villain.
Because
Because she basically calls out and saying, I really don't know.
well, she says I don't really know how I'm doing it.
Yeah,
but
I don't even know how it started. Like,
Yeah.
like she, I think she's accepting that she's kind of in control. I think Agnes is the antagonist of the show. I think she's the one who, for whatever reason, because Agnes potentially is a magical character herself, and I think she
maybe, but I don't think you saw evidence of that in this particular episode. You saw her much more as a victim.
I mean,
When Vision, breaks her temporarily out of Wanda's mind control.
but we've seen her know more than the rest of everybody. Like she seems to be more in the clue of what's going on, and that's not to say that wasn't an act.
Everybody's kind of aware in a way of what's going on. Like when the neighbor said, "Do you want something to change?" He's asking her if they want. She's Big Brother in this case. If she says something is, they make it so. Just like when Agnes says, "Do you want me to take it from the top?" Kind of breaks character for a moment.
Mhm.
But at the same time, they're also not contradicting her when they do that. They're appeasing her. They're as she's the one that's in control, consciously or unconsciously.
I get the hardness.
Right. When we talked about that last week too, that it's possible that that's who she ultimately is going to turn out to be, but we don't really know that yet. So it'll be interesting to see if that's in fact the direction this goes, that character goes, how that reconciles, what we saw in this particular episode when she was freed temporarily from Wanda's control and freaked out. We also saw the what was I going to say? The Vision, like trying to escape from going beyond Ellis Avenue or Ellis Street, was it Avenue?
Ellis Avenue.
Yeah, and literally trying to escape the hex, and not very successfully. So, how did that scene? What did you guys make of that scene?
Travis Rolls, son.
I've not even watched any of this.
I'm lost. I'm lost. I saw the first 2 episodes, and I don't think I understand the show yet.
Okay.
Well, you really don't start to understand the show until like number 4, I think.
Okay, well that's fair. That's fair.
I'm listening to you guys talk about this, and it seems more and more like she had her own version of the dilithium planet that just occurred.
I mean, you're not too far off.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely rooted in trauma for sure. For sure.
See, when Vision left the barrier, I half expected him to return to that dead state that he was in. When Thanos had ripped the stone from his head and he became that gray, lifeless corpse, basically.
Vibranium.
Yeah. And seeing him just kind of struggling and trying to reach out to the people who were trying to figure out what the heck's going on with Westview. It wasn't quite what I expected it would turn out to be, because we still don't know exactly how Wanda has brought him back to life. We don't know exactly how she has managed to block out his memories from Infinity War prior and help establish who he is in the show. And I feel in the barrier, let me try rephrasing that. I feel he is only this, he should, I thought he would only be this way in the barrier, if that makes sense. Perhaps he himself might be an illusion or something to that regard. But seeing him being able to withstand as much as he, being able to be outside the barrier as long as he was and communicate with others and last for a good amount of time only deepens the mystery for me personally. Again, I'm a very casual Marvel guy. I do not know a lot about this universe. But, yeah, that was...
It doesn't deepen anything for me. It only solidifies what I think is going on. This whole thing was over his death. It doesn't matter if he leaves the bubble or not. She's going to do everything she can to maintain him.
Mm-hmm. And we learned that he is somehow tied to the hex. He can't exist outside of it. Because once he did, he kept being pulled back in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether or not this is him being tied to the hex or being tied to Wanda, I'm thinking it might be I'm thinking the hex is some kind of extension of her.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure.
Well, no, I mean a metaphysical connection to her.
Yeah.
That her resurrecting of Vision has made it so he can't exist outside of it. And I was interested to see that when he was outside, as Travis observed, that he looked like he did pre-Infinity War, before Thanos crushed his skull. So that flashback to that state seemed like a subconscious slip from Wanda. So when she looked at Pietro and she saw him as he was at the end of Age of Ultron, was also something of a slip. So the question is, would the same thing happen to Pietro if he leaved? And if Billy and Teddy leave, would the same thing happen to them?
And she specifically tells them to stay away, to not go past Ella Street.
Yeah,
So that
right.
tells that leads me to believe that they're tied to the hex, which now, I mean.
Well, I don't know how much I want to spoil here because a lot of this is territory that has been covered in the comics.
Yeah.
Many years ago, and who Tommy and Billy are is explained in the comics, and that also kind of explains kind of what Vision is, how he came to be.
There are 3 comics that this kind of covers. The first one was the Adventures of Wanda and Vision, something like that.
Yeah,
where they have children, but it turns out
Named
the entire
Tommy
event of that
Billy.
miniseries was an illusion conjured by Mephisto, and the children were never real. Wanda's memories were wiped until the events of Avengers Disassembled, where she regained those memories. She wigged out when she realized that she once had children and they don't exist anymore, and it ended up with the complete dissolution of the Avengers. And then House of M, where she reshaped the world, where mutants were the top dog of everything. Magneto was king. She and her brother were the heirs apparent. And then when that all crashed down, she said, "No more mutants."
No more mutants.
And-
they were gone.
And
Almost.
90% of all mutant powers evaporated.
Yeah, just those 3 words. That's how powerful she is.
Yeah.
She's an existential threat to the world, and I have always said that. Even when she was young, because her powers are unbelievable, and then she learned under Doctor Strange more magic. So in the comic books, at least, I don't think that they're going to bring in the Doctor Strange connection in the thing, but they might. Who knows?
Might.
It could
Well,
be Wong
especially
that
with-
shows up, though.
Especially with Pietro, right? So we've already seen some, some inklings of the multiverse. Now the question is where I'm interested to know of why Pietro is. I really think that, what's his name? The sword guy
The director.
pulled Pietro. The director pulled Pietro from an alternate universe, the X-Men universe.
Wait, who did?
The director.
The sword director? Why?
Yeah.
How would he be able to do that?
I don't know, but for her to conjure up her dead brother in a manifestation that she's never seen before,
And yet she recognizes
and she actually recognizes
and accepts.
And he has the memories of Pietro. She was testing him throughout this episode.
Yeah, I think that I don't think it's the sword director. I don't see him having the power. If he had that kind of power, he would have figured out a way to disable her, and he hasn't.
He can't. He can't at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think I think it's going to have. It's definitely sort of multiversal, but I think we're looking at a deeper reason for why that's happening. Did you guys catch, by the way, the in Age of Ultron, of course, Pietro was played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, and if you recall, in that scene when they're getting ready for the Halloweens,
Kick-Ass.
and they say Kick-Ass, and of course, Aaron Taylor Johnson also played Kick-Ass in the movie of the same name, which I thought was very cute.
Someone posted a meme in the group with that included with that scene that actually showed the kick-ass characters.
I didn't realize I made a pun at all.
You are a pun.
You didn't. I made it for you because it was funny to make it.
Well,
You are a pun.
very clever. I approve.
Okay, so was anybody surprised by anything we learned in this episode?
No, I mean, well, we all suspected the Vision was tied to the Hex, and seeing what happened to him pretty much confirmed that one. I was surprised that she expanded it quite.
I'm actually getting some fun, like, under the dome vibes almost.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Kinda.
Oh, that show was so bad.
It
It
really
was.
Oh.
Like, I am not going to sit here and say that Under the Dome is a good show because, like, it's not.
The concept was fun.
Like, it had promise. I have watched the first season
Me too.
and enjoyed it, but it did go downhill really quick. That said, like I said, the concept I believe is really fun, and I'm very like towards the end when she is just like pushing the Hex out even further, engulfing so many people into it. Like I just saw her, like there's something like I just got Under the Dome vibes because like not maybe not in a literal sense, but it is her reality that she is forcing on so many people, and the outside world cannot do anything about it. And I dig it. I dig it. I'm very
All right.
curious.
Let's take stock of everything that is now within the Hex. We got Kat Dennings, who is handcuffed to a Jeep, probably still handcuffed on the inside. The entirety of the sword camp and everyone inside is now a circus carnival.
Yep.
Ringling Brothers style.
And a taco cart.
And a taco cart. The only people who survived that expansion is Rambeau, Wu, the director, and one or two bodyguards who are with him. Everything else is inside. So
They did.
You know what I thought was really interesting about Rambeau is I think I mentioned this before last week or maybe the week before. In the comics, Monica Rambeau actually for a time is Captain Marvel herself, and she her costume or uniform in the comics was essentially a poncho, like she was wearing towards the end of this episode, which I thought was hilarious.
This is going to spark word failing me here. Escalation.
Yes,
in
escalation.
Response from the director. And I heard an interesting theory, and I'd like to hear what you guys think of it, that Sword, the sentient weapons, whatever, is building Sentinels.
Oh, that would make it good. Yeah.
Well, if they're planning on that would be a way to really bring the X-Men into this universe.
Well, I mean, if you see, here's the thing, because I don't know. I guess I remember two different histories from the 90s X-Men. Because at one point, it was the government building the Sentinels to control the mutants, and then Magneto took them over. And then at another point, it was literally Magneto himself building the Sentinels for some ungodly reason. It was really weird, that cartoon.
I think it changed a couple times.
It did, because classically the Sentinels were actually built by a private guy, Simon Trask. And then he, as a government contract, he provided Sentinels to the government after they passed the Mutant Registration Act. And then it just sort of, they would pop up again whenever convenient.
I am scared that you're so well versed in this, Carlos.
I read the X-Men for a long time.
So wait, what's it? Okay, I know I'm not like deep into all the other stuff because I only watched like the first 3 X-Men movies. Wasn't Trask the guy that Wolverine left pinned to the fucking dam as it broke when
that was
that was that army guy.
Yeah, it was the army guy. Trask is the guy that what's his name from Game of Thrones played.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
That was Trask.
Okay.
In the movies.
Okay.
Another interesting thing that we heard was that Monica's entire DNA was rewritten by Wanda in the Dome.
Yeah.
So that's the potentiality of everybody in
Twice.
the Dome.
Mhm.
So what if we're going to get a reverse of House of M here?
That would be
And Monica does become Captain Marvel for a bit.
trippy.
Or taking
It would be
the call sign of her mother, Photon.
Yeah.
It could very well be. I mean, I know that's going to be part of it because they wouldn't mention if it wasn't going to be part of something coming later. But
No, they're definitely throwing lots of hints out there. It's just
Yeah.
And
You know,
as for the next episode, we know that Monica and Wu are going to meet her contact to get back inside. They're getting a what was it? A diving bell, something like that, or a walking bunker,
well,
a mobile bunker.
well, then they get thrown back in.
Yeah, Monica wants to go back in. She wants to try to appeal to Wanda to talk to her down, to
Well,
get her
she
to
wants
bring
to
down
save
the hex
Wanda.
and everything.
She wants to save Wanda. She sees
Yeah.
Wanda as a
Yeah.
victim here.
That's why the director kicked her out.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have how many more episodes then after this? 2?
2.
7 and 8. Wow.
Well, with the next episode, they'll be in 2000, so one more decade, and they'll be about concurrent with the MCU.
Mhm.
You know, I wonder if they're going to take Crisis in any consideration of this.
Crisis?
On
Crisis
Infinite
is
Earth,
DC.
That's DC.
that's
That's
like
DC.
Well, is it DC and Marvel all together now?
No.
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 No. Never the streams shall cross.
Marvel's owned by
Crossover in the
Disney.
90s, but that's about it.
Marvel's owned by Disney,
And Time Warner for the other brother.
and Time Warner
Yeah.
owns DC.
AKA
Okay.
AT&T.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. All right. So I guess we will see what happens next. But certainly big doings. It looks like this actually, my guess is that this is going to be an introduction to what we see in what phase are we in now? 5? 4?
Yeah.
5?
4.
No, I think we're in 5. This will be the introduction to what phase 5 is going to be. As we're seeing more and more sort of multiverse kinds of hints being thrown around, even in the pre-production and lead up of some of the other MCU films that are coming down pike soon. So, okay.
See, you guys hate time travel because of all the little strings it leaves behind. And here's fucking multiverse travel.
Multiverse is maybe even worse than time travel. I don't know.
Especially when multiverse leads to time travel.
Oh no! Please, no!
Well,
Please.
that
Oh,
was-
no.
That was the concept behind Endgame.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Endgame was. Traveling to parallel dimensions that were at different areas of time. It was Michael Crichton's timelines.
Oh, I read that book.
It was it's a genius book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually really like that book. Did you ever see the movie version of it?
I never saw it. Yeah,
It
I
was
heard it was
awesome.
bad though.
It
wasn't
really bad.
Bad, but it was. I mean,
We never lived up to it.
when you're
right?
looking at an adaptation like Jurassic Park, it's
It was
gonna
like
fall
13th
short.
Warrior. It was like 13th Warrior. The adaptation was good, but it didn't live up to the book.
Yeah,
Yeah, it didn't go to any of the depths.
casting wasn't that great either.
No. Except for Antonio Banderas, I actually liked him.
Yeah, and the guy that played Lupin.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, okay. The latest installment of our Zack Snyder recut of Justice League is, as you know, it is now going to be 4.5 hours long. One big movie coming this spring on HBO Max. And a new teaser trailer came out this week that gave us a look at the DC Universe's version of Thanos, the big bad, Darkseid. And did any of you get a chance to see this little teaser trailer?
So it looks like he's actually following through on the flashback the future glimpse that Bruce got in Batman v Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly a little fatigued with this subject. I love the idea of a Snyder cut. I want to see it badly, but I'm tired of being teased. Don't tease me anymore. I can't take it. High school was bad enough.
I'm ready for. I hope, as the resident, where is he? Superman fan of the group.
I am also a Superman fan.
I really hope that the Snyder Cut can get DC back on track.
It won't. It's super dark, dude.
I hope it gets DC back on track. You can hope, Carlos. I'm allowed to hope. You see that symbol?
That symbol.
What does that symbol mean?
Yes.
In the meantime, there's always the DC animated movies.
Which are great.
Batman Soul
Which are great.
Actually,
those have been great since the 90s.
World War II.
If you'll indulge me into talking about a later topic, Tyler Hoechling's Clark and Lois, or Superman Lois. Look,
that's our next topic.
That's the 24th. That starts on the 24th, I believe.
23rd.
Yep, I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, I am.
Me too.
All of the videos I've seen.
I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at the review that who was it? IGN put on YouTube. No, CBR. No. Who did that?
The reason I love using StreamYard, well, that's easy.
It was IGN.
Broken.
It was
I can
IGN.
make a show like the Backpack Show.
So they reviewed the pilot, and it's a pretty good review, I have to tell you.
And all the reviews I've seen so far have been favorable. So yeah, it looks really good. Everything they've shown of it so far, it looks, I hope it lives up to the hype.
Well, so far it has. It does. I mean, from people who actually seen it.
I'm sorry. Dean Cain is always going to be my Superman.
I live in a world where I believe there could be many good Supermen, and Dean Cain.
DC's done much better with the multiverse stories than Marvel ever did. So Dean Cain is Superman, Christopher Reeve is Superman, even Brandon Routh is Superman.
Brandon Routh. An interesting note about that, though, is, and I didn't put this in one of the, maybe I did in the Wonder Girl thing in the Trello. Anyway, that the Arrowverse on the CW made a big deal about Crisis on Infinite Earths and how all the many Earths sort of collapsed into one Earth Prime in which all of our superheroes exist on the same Earth, except that we aren't expecting them to get together again at all in the foreseeable future. So even though Superman and Lois is taking place in the same universe as Black Lightning and The Flash and Supergirl and even Stargirl.
No, Stargirl's still separate.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. Stargirl is set on Earth 2.
Oh, okay. All right. Good to know. Anyway, a lot of the criticism coming out now is that we're not, they went to all this trouble to get everyone on the same Earth, and then they're kind of ignoring the fact that they're on the same Earth. And especially we're seeing that in with the new Batwoman and in the upcoming and final season of Black Lightning, in which he basically isn't going to be interacting with anyone else. It's like he's on his own Earth again. So it's interesting that Superman and Lois is actually going to eschew some of the tropes of the Arrowverse, like
this is also going to be the final season of Supergirl too.
Yes, that's right. Final season of Supergirl too. So like, there's no team of plucky assistants working behind the scenes to help them solve the problem of the week. I think it's going to be a deeper story about family and things that I actually welcome, because I find that the typical CW superhero series tends to start getting old after about season 3 or 4.
All those shows have a very similar format. right? Like you point out, you have the hero, the face, but really a supporting cast of plucky characters behind the scenes making all that work. I don't remember that so much with Flash in the comic books.
It wasn't in Flash in the comic
yeah.
books. There was no such team.
And Superman definitely doesn't need it. I would like to see, though, it would be really neat to have at some point in the Arrowverse have a crescendo, have a major crossover where we bring back Green Arrow, but now is he a Monitor now?
I think so. I think the big crescendo was Crisis on Infinite Earths. We're not going to see something like that again.
Look! Whoever this Wonder Girl lady is, it's the CW. They're just going to fall into the same thing. Some big bad that's for the season is immune to her powers. She has to find something to help her get rid of the big bad guy, and then the next season is going to happen all over again.
I hope not.
Plus, it would be awesome as hell if they did have like one plucky assistant, and that plucky assistant just happens to work at Boeing because Invisible Jet. I want to see what the Invisible Jet looks like before it becomes invisible.
Oh, didn't they sort of show that in Wonder Woman 1984?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's their son.
Movie.
That was an adorable moment. Last time I tried it with a coffee cup. Yeah? What happened to it? I lost it.
Oh.
I would be devastated.
Okay, so how many people planning to see Superman and Lois February 23rd? Travis, is Lane going to talk you into it?
Just that slow turn of the weasel.
Slowly he turns.
Personally, I'm not the biggest Superman fan, so.
Justin, what are you doing?
Wasn't just me.
Full pop, vinyl, funk, whatever the hell those things
Funko
are.
Pop.
In a stink eye.
Yeah, he's looking at you down.
He's got a bit of green makeup.
Biting you. He's giving you the laser eye.
There you go.
He's got some Tiberium embedded in his forehead.
What can I say, Lane? I like the animated series too much to want to try anything else, I guess.
And that's fair.
Broaden your mind, man. Broaden your mind.
Yeah.
Lane's going to give it a chance, aren't you, Lane?
That's entirely fair. I don't like Lower Decks.
Okay, so let's move on to some other CW news because CW ordered pilots for a number of interesting new shows. Most of them comic or cartoon based. Powerpuff Girls is going to series.
No! Hey, if they give it the Riverdale treatment, I'm on board.
I actually would be too. Although I guess this season of Riverdale, I haven't seen it.
If they give it the Riverdale treatment, we have to see a mutated giant version of Bunny.
God, no,
we have to see Bunny.
It's going to be a CW version of Power Rangers, but as Powerpuff.
It's the only way I'm really seeing it work without it being just completely crazy. I mean, just look at their rogues gallery. Mojo.
I read a summary of what they're basically trying to make this show as, and I don't think I will really dig what they're trying to do. There's a very specific, there's a reason I dig the Powerpuff Girls and was secretly in denial about it for years.
You don't have to be in denial about it anymore, sweetie.
I don't have to be
come out wherever you are.
It's a brilliant cartoon.
Do you guys want to hear the summary of the CW version of Powerpuff Girls?
Yes.
Okay, here it is. The Powerpuff Girls used to be America's pint-sized superheroes. Now they're disillusioned 20-somethings who resent having lost their childhood to crime fighting. Will they agree to reunite now that the world needs them more than ever?
Love it.
As long as Mojo Jojo returns, I don't care.
I just
No.
I'm
sorry. I'm sorry.
I just don't see it happening. I don't I don't see this being a hit. It's just
You're not going to be drooling on over the screen over Powerpuff Girls, Travis?
What?
Not going to be drooling over the screen over adult Powerpuff Girls?
I never drooled over the screen on Powerpuff Girls. They're in kindergarten, for Christ's sake.
I said adult.
Superheroes.
Adult.
Well, they're adults now. You can drool over them.
I see it. I see it perfectly. You got preppy Bubbles. You got Bubbles hasn't changed at all, and Buttercup is in a goth phase.
I love it. I love it.
I don't see how I would personally enjoy this. Like, I love the animation of the show.
Not me.
I love the comedy it brought. I love the brilliant, colorful cast of characters and villains and action.
Look, this cartoon is the only reason we got Devo to make a song about Mojo Jojo.
And since it is CW, I'm going to say that Blossom is going to be aggressively gay.
Like Blossom from like the Big Nose.
No,
Amy
Blossom, the
Fair
character in Powerpuff Girls.
The Powerpuff Girl.
Today on the very special Blossom.
Not all three of them.
I guess the main thing I'm saying is that everything I know the Powerpuff Girls to be and everything I love about it, it just doesn't sound like a show that would personally reach me. This isn't like, I know I'm going to sound very gatekeepery here.
You do. You sound like a grumpy old gatekeeper.
Yeah, I'm sure. But it's just,
Powerpuff Girls.
Get off our line.
Oh, poor Travis. Let Travis speak. Come on, guys.
Stop it.
No, Justin, it doesn't work for you. That's the one thing I will gatekeep to the rest of my life. It don't work for you. I'm sure it will have its fans, and I'm sure if I get a chance, I will give it a chance. I will give it a shot if I have that chance.
I understand where Travis is coming from. The magic of the Powerpuff Girls is the Powerpuff Girls where they are. They are these not even 5 or 6-year-old kids fighting crime simply because their dad, quote unquote, had a lab accident that created them. That's the only reason that they are there. Otherwise, I mean, come on, Townville would be a fucking crater in the ground if not for them, because all of those other characters existed before.
That's part of the drama. They're disillusioned because they lost their childhood to crime fighting. Who is their primary enabler? Their dad. They're estranged now, and he is constantly trying to be engaged in their lives, and they're pushing him away.
No, their enabler was the mayor.
But
I loved his mustache. I want that mustache.
I have a very important question.
Hey, real quick for Twitch chat, who wants to fart into their mic?
No.
Just got to ask if we are an ASMR fart channel.
I don't find farts to be very ASMR-y.
Given my current state, I'd rather not do anything.
Yeah, really.
Oh,
now, tapping.
Very close to blurting.
Yeah, just remember that SuperGeeks is a no pants podcast, so having any of us stand up on camera is probably not a good idea.
I'm doing ASMR tapping.
Sound effects like that I can dig. It's the whispering that always creeps me out.
Oh my god, the whispering's the best part.
The nibbling on the plastic ear, guys. Come on.
Okay, that's really a little out there. But
it's all anyway, I have a very important question about the Powerpuff Girls.
What is that, Ross?
This show, how are they going to bring the narrator back?
We don't know that they will. So one thing to
Then
notice.
it's not my Powerpuff Girls.
Well, you know,
Well-
you can say the same thing about Riverdale. I mean, it's not Archie Comics. You know,
But here's the thing, though, with the narrator.
Let me finish, please. But it stands on its own using characters that are based on the original. So, you know, it could be the same with Powerpuff Girls. They're not necessarily, well, they're not at all recreating the cartoon version because they're older, you know, 10 years older. So, you know, it's just a question of
Townsville.
Yeah.
Is under
Go
attack.
ahead, Justin. Go ahead, Justin.
But yeah, they did the narrator thing for which one was it? Was that the I'm trying to think. Umbrella Academy? They did the narrator?
I don't.
I
Wasn't
think
the
they usually bring him
narrator
back for the last time on Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
Something to take note of, though, it has not been green-lighted for series. This is just a pilot order.
Oh.
So we don't know that it actually will ever air.
Roll the dice.
Yeah. I
With
mean,
all the
it's-
hype we just gave it, they need to now.
well,
They
you
need
know,
to.
I hope so.
Come on, most of us are
boy,
excited about
yeah,
this.
we have to have- we
I
have
got
to have-
myself excited about this.
All right, I
Well-
will admit, I was wrong about Lower Decks. I could be wrong here.
Of course you
Some things you were right. Some things you were right.
So Ross, if we take Powerpuff Girls into account, then him was actually the original Strawberry Bimp.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing to notice about
Hey,
one thing to note also about these pilot orders is of the ones that I mentioned, one of them is a straight to series order, so it's not just a pilot. They're actually going to go ahead and greenlight it to series, and that is a reboot, which I never expected, but I'm happy to learn is a reboot of the 4400, which used to be on the USA Network back in
that
the
was
day.
good.
It
That
was
was
a
good.
good show.
Yeah.
Did any, besides Raul, who obviously has indicated he also saw and liked it, any of the rest of you 4400 fans?
I'm not
I
familiar
can't
with
say
it.
I've heard of
It was probably around 2007.
Mhm.
And it was on USA, and the story's basically about these 4,400 people who basically vanished. They were spirited away over the course of decades, like 50 years or something like that. And then one day they all reappear, as if with no time having passed for each of them, but they obviously span many decades in the amount of time that they disappeared, and their reappearance in the world has some really profound effects in terms of religion and society and government and things like that, because everyone's trying to get to the bottom of what happened to these people and what continues to be special about them and so on and so forth. It was a really interesting show. And
way ahead of its time.
Yeah, and was unfortunately canceled. So I'm glad. I was surprised and overjoyed to discover that it may get another shot.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I was sad when that got canceled because I had just gotten into it. But yeah, that's great. I hope they do it justice.
And number 3 on there is, I don't know if any of you have read the comic book. This is a fairly recent DC comic called Naomi, which is about a teen girl's journey from her small northwestern town to the heights of the multiverse. And then a supernatural event shakes her hometown to the core. She sets out to uncover its origins, and what she discovers will challenge everything we believe about our heroes. So it's based on this 2019 comic book series written by Brian Michael Bendis. And apparently in the comics, this character, Naomi, is slated to join the Justice League in March in the comics.
Cool.
And it's being executive produced and written by Anna DuVernay, which that's a big time director.
So I wonder if this means we'll get a version of Justice League.
I wouldn't go so far.
Brian Michael Bendis has come off of a winning streak, off of basically a lackluster few years of the last few years of his Marvel tenure. But when he joined DC, it seemed to have wakened his writing instincts up, and he's produced hit after hit after hit.
Yeah, he also did the recent. Didn't he do the recent?
Yes.
Legion of Superheroes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which I love. I love Legion. I'm an old school Legion fan.
Me too.
It's young people flying around space with rings. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Fright rings with
flight rings. Exactly.
They're the best. Even Superboy had a flight ring, even though he could.
Exactly, he could fly anyway.
Well, they had other purposes. They like mini communicators.
They were IDs too.
They were IDs and communicators and God knows what else. But,
lots of stuff.
Yeah, and in fact, remember we saw which version of Superman was it where we saw a
Mon-El?
Yeah, that's right. In Supergirl, we saw a Legion flight ring in the Fortress of Solitude.
Yep.
So that was kind of cool. Anyway, the fact that Anna DuVernay is behind this new show, even though I don't know Naomi the comic, Anna DuVernay is a pretty big deal to have behind this creatively. So I'm officially looking forward to it.
Should be awesome.
Out.
And she promises to have good hair the entire time.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Okay, next TV-related news to come, TV news about something coming, is that the Chappelle Show is after having been taken off of Netflix, is returning. Ross, I think you're the one who found this story. You want to bring us up to speed?
Well, this actually broke today. So previously, Dave Chappelle has been quite vocal about the raw deal that he had when he made the Chappelle Show. The network took advantage of him. He was quite popular, and he eventually, once he was able to, he got out of the gig and started doing his own stand-up circuit. And in one of his more recent circuits, he was talking about how bad a deal he got, and that the recent licensing on Netflix, he was getting nothing from, and he started asking people to cancel himself, to boycott his own show because he wasn't getting any residual from it. And eventually, after talking with the executives at Netflix, they agreed that it was a bad deal, and they took the show down. Apparently, in the weeks in between, Chappelle got in touch with the new people in charge at Viacom CBS and came to an agreement. And he is now seeing those residuals, and Chappelle's Show is back on Netflix.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's actually a wonderful story.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Because it for a show that bears his name, for him to have no profit out of or no residual income out of is,
it reminds me of nightmare. It reminds me, son, of the deals in the 1950s, like for Colonel Sanders and other likeness, Aunt Jemima and the rest.
Yeah.
They got nothing.
Well,
Colonel Sanders. Oh my God!
Colonel Sanders got nothing. He signed away his likeness.
And look at what they're doing with it.
Yeah, they have dating games now with him. So
the dating.
They have that Lifetime
romance
movie
short film. And oh my God, what people have done with his
Mario
statues
Lopez
in Japan.
played Colonel Sanders.
They think this in Japan. I can't remember the name of the baseball team, but they think that the Colonel's spirit has cursed the team to never win a game because during one of a big post-game riot, they took one of the statues and tossed it into a river.
But the Japanese baseball teams are very superstitious, from what I know. They're very odd, but superstitious.
That's still hilarious.
They also play a completely different form of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really that different? I didn't know that.
The rules are quite significantly different.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Something to learn. Okay, next topic. This week featured the series finale of CBS All Access's recent adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand. And the final episode was actually written by Stephen King himself and changes the ending, both changes and extends the ending of the original novel on which the series was based. How many of you have been keeping up with The Stand besides me?
Carlos, it's Paramount Plus or P Plus.
Well, it's not Paramount Plus yet, and it's ended, so it's CBS All Access.
I wanted to get in on The Stand.
Well, it's all there, so now you can binge it if you like.
I can binge it. I unfortunately just never got around to it. It's on the bucket list. We actually put on Coyote.
Oh, that's one I haven't watched and I want to check out. So it's got mixed reviews. Some people really like it. Some people really hate it. I'm somewhere in the middle myself. For the most part, I thought it was pretty good. The last episode, the second to last one where the big confrontation happens, I felt like came out of nowhere. But this last one, which is the aftermath of that big confrontation, actually takes a look at one of the major characters from the book and earlier in the show. And she kind of gets a short shrift. Stephen King has always been criticized for making her into this big character, and then she gets pregnant and then doesn't take part in any of the stand when it happens. And so this new ending that he wrote in this final episode actually gives her a chance to make a stand of her own, and goes a little bit farther into the future beyond what the book originally did when it came out in, 1978, I think.
No, much later. It was the 80s.
No, I think it was 78, dude.
I will look it up while you talk.
Dude, it's mentioned in the article that's linked in the.
So, how does this stand compare to the last miniseries that was done?
Totally did not understand what you said.
How does The Stand compare to the last miniseries that was done?
You know what? I did not watch more than one episode of that last miniseries. It just did not work for me in any way. I liked this one just because I thought it had a better cast. I think Whoopi Goldberg was fantastic. James Marsden was great. All of them were pretty good in it. So.
Well, because I could never get through the last one either, so that's why I was asking if this one to hold your attention better, than I'm check it out.
So I read the Gizmodo title, and the only thing I could think of is the image link that I posted in our StreamYard chat.
Let me see. For the folks at home, it's a drawing of someone heating a table going, wheeze!
Because the Gizmodo article says The Stand ended with a wheeze despite the hand of Stephen King.
Which is interesting because, in the book, the big confrontation includes literally the hand of God. So the hand of Stephen King is pretty funny.
And here it is.
So if any of you are fans of the book and want to see what Stephen King has done in terms of adding to that story, watch at least the last episode and see how he has changed his mind about some things or decided, he's grown up.
It really is his magnum opus, though. I think out of all his work, it's
of his actual big novels.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to say it's the only one that I've read, but I've also read the 1963 one. What was it? 10/22? No, 11.
Oh, that one. You read that one? That was big. It was a big
book. It was a big book. It was a good book. But other than that, the only long Stephen King novel that I've read a bunch of his novellas, but the long one was The Stand, and I liked it.
It's good.
But that's why I didn't like the 1994 miniseries, because I just didn't think it captured very much of it.
And the Talisman with Peter Straub was also a fantastic novel.
Yeah, I didn't read that one.
It's a fantasy novel written by two horror monsters. It's hilarious.
And Firestarter, actually, I read this week too. I didn't include it in the Trello, but Firestarter is being remade by, oh crap, what's his name? From High School Musical. He's the star of High School Musical. You know who I mean?
Grant Gustin.
What? Who?
Grant Gustin in High School Musical or no?
Well, he was, but he's not the star.
Yeah, no.
The first one I think of is the one that
Grant Gustin was in Glee. No, it was the guy. He's the lead. Everyone wore his hair back in the early 2000s.
Look, I'm sorry, but when you say the lead of High School Musical, I go, there isn't a lead. It's an ensemble cast.
It is an ensemble cast, but he was top billed.
Wasn't that Zac Efron?
He
Yes,
had
Zac
the best. He had the best agent.
Which Zac Efron
Yeah, Zac Efron.
was amazing in The Greatest Showman.
I heard
he
that,
was.
actually.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
No, he's done actually some really good work.
Amazing, stunningly
Yeah.
good.
Which surprisingly, I don't know if you know this or not, but the guy who played Win in Supergirl
Mhm.
Yeah.
was in line to play that role.
That would have been good too.
So he basically, Hugh Jackman was scheduled to go to New York to meet with a bunch of investors, and he had nodules in his nose that had to be removed. So he couldn't sing when they were doing it. They were going to do a sing thing and kind of like act along. So basically they get there and and so he's friends with the guy who's putting together the movie, and they get there and he basically saves the production because Hugh Jackman can't sing. He can't, except for the very end, he breaks out in song. He just couldn't contain himself anymore, and Hugh Jackman sings. And then so he's leaving thinking, I've nailed this role, this major role with Hugh Jackman. But then as he's leaving, he hears Hugh Jackman tell somebody, oh yeah, we've already talked to Zac Efron about the role.
Oh no!
Oh, that
You can see
hurt.
the video on YouTube. It's what's his name? Jordan?
James Jordan. Jordan. Oh crap. He was a big Broadway star before he started.
Yeah, there's a video on YouTube about how he saved The Greatest Showman. It's worth a watch. He sings through some of the songs, and it's really good.
Wait, J. Jonah Jameson saved The Greatest Showman?
Sure.
I don't know what you mean. Jeremy Jordan is his
Jeremy
name.
Jordan, yeah.
Yeah, not J. Jonah Jameson.
I was making a joke.
I get it, but it's too far from the name for it to have immediately hit.
Son got booed. I'm sorry.
Look,
Okay.
sometimes they fly and sometimes they
That's
fall flat.
true. Comedy is a
true,
risk.
sure.
Comedy is a risk you got to take. So, no judgment. Okay, so so that's The Stand. If any of you is interested in binging it, is the complete series is now on CBS All Access, changing next month, of course, to Paramount Plus. Speaking of Paramount Plus, we have a lot of news that's coming out about the various streaming services right now, and of course, Paramount Plus is the combining of CBS All Access and Paramount's Viacom CBS's other cable and streaming properties, all brought together under one roof. But interestingly, I came across an article on IndieWire in which they actually were not that impressed by the Paramount Plus promos that we saw leading up to their big one on the Super Bowl last week. And they actually asked, is Paramount Plus this year's Quibi?
All right, listen here, Leonardo Adrian Garcia. I'm about to fucking school you. Quibi. Quibi's primary mistake in their marketing is that they marketed the service and didn't tell you what the hell you were buying. Hey, look, quick form video. Okay, cool. What are you playing? Buy it for yourself and find out. What?
And the only show
is a streaming service.
And the only show on the platform that was
they
worth
were only
anything.
showing the platform. They showed nothing of its contents. They just had a bunch of actors doing a bunch of random things, looking at their phone, and nobody knows what your service does.
No, but
Paramount
when you
Plus.
actually got the service, though, the only show that was mildly entertaining was the one where Andy Kendrick had a budding friendship with her
boyfriend's sex doll.
boyfriend's sex doll.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you look at Paramount Plus, what are they doing? Their content, their properties, the shows that they are marketing are front and center. A beautiful mixture of both their legacy stuff. Right up front, you see Beavis and Butthead. You see freaking Chase from Paw Patrol.
Lucy and Desi.
Dora the Explorer.
Dora the Explorer.
Lucy and Desi.
Freaking Pike, Burnham, everything that is on the platform is there in a funny little medley that doesn't quite make sense. Snooki was front and center.
And at the top of Mount Paramount, we get
center. They got
Patrick
the marketing
Stewart.
guys at Paramount
Singing,
know what the hell
dancing.
they're doing. They even had a fun catchphrase: "A mountain of entertainment."
A mountain of entertainment.
And they had Patrick Stewart narrate. Come on.
And Stephen Colbert singing as MC.
Yeah.
Well, no. He was
at
making
the
drinks.
end. At the
He
end.
was the bartender.
Well, yeah, but he was the MC of the event.
They beautifully, expertly showcased everything that is going to be on Paramount Plus in a funny way that is somewhat memorable. Meanwhile,
That's why
Quibi
they get
did
paid
none
the
of
big-
these things.
So my
they
guess,
get paid the big bucks. That's why. You know?
And then to further and conclude my little my extended rant here. Oh. Paramount Plus is a rebrand of CBS All Access, a streaming service that has been an established service, a successful service, though regionally blocked within the United States. With Paramount Plus is expanding nationwide. It already has an established base. Quibi had nothing.
Quibi has nothing.
They did have a show about Anna Kendrick having a friendship with her boyfriend's sex doll.
Well,
And
didn't
Brooklyn
somebody
Nine-Nine.
acquire all of that Quibi property so you can go and watch it somewhere else?
Yep, it's all
Instant
been
beer
bought
face.
by Roku.
yes,
I'm just-
Roku, that's right.
I'm just saying that like the platform had nothing on it. It was all garbage.
At this point, the for me anyway, the best thing that I could compare Quibi's marketing to was the marketing for the Wii U.
Yeah.
Oh,
So many
yeah.
people didn't know what the fuck the Wii U was. They thought it was an extension or an add-on to the Wii, and the marketing just didn't help in any way whatsoever.
Here's a trivia question. Do you guys know what the name Quibi was derived from?
Quick bites.
Quick Bites.
Just like those little cakes that are way too sweet that you get at the grocery store.
I like the ones that have like fruit filling. I'm good with
Oh, let's not start Carlos on food, please. No, we can't do this.
that.
But I got him to talk about cake
It's
instead of pie.
This
Remember,
article
cake is
it reads like someone who's just grumpy and wanted something to rant about.
I agree.
Well, you
I didn't-
also got to remember this is the same culture that kept saying like CBS and Paramount getting back together would be detrimental for everything, and then that didn't happen.
Well, this comes from IndieWire, which is they're a pretty respected site, and their commentators are usually pretty spot on about a lot of things. That's why this one stuck out to me, because it was so not like what IndieWire typically posts. That just because I didn't see any real.
They completely
Parallel.
misunderstood the failings of Quibi. It's and what Paramount Plus is, what P Plus is. I'm calling it P Plus, by the way. I'm
Oh,
also going
okay.
to call Disney Plus D Plus.
I guess we'll see if that catches on, Ross. If it does, then you win the big bucks. All right, so that brings us, folks, to our closing segment of the show, and that is, what are we watching? So let's start with Sun this week. What have you been watching, Sun?
So I'm continuing I guess I should call it the first full watch of all of SG1 because it's on Netflix. I've been doing that for the past couple of weeks. I just don't think I've mentioned it.
No, you mentioned it last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this I've seen it in bits and pieces for years, and I've just never sat and watched all of it. So I'm slowly doing that. I found another VTuber that I absolutely utterly love, and his name is Izzy Mouse, and
Aw.
the whole thing is he's a cat who's named a mouse that wears a bear hoodie.
Oh, a boy named Sue.
He has bright red eyes with crosses for pupils.
And he's also
Ooh.
not a lawyer.
You know, if
He's
he
not a lawyer.
turns his head, there'll be X's, and he's dead.
Well, the eyes are quite dynamic, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
fun because it's fun because the in normal VTubing you can have a dynamic facial range. For most VTubers, it's more facial expressions. With Izzy, it is mostly the eyes. The eyes are that full dynamic range for the facial emotions more than anything. Now, facial emotions do exist, but it's more concentrated on the eyes. And interestingly enough, a lot of the followers that have suddenly taken a liking to this VTuber have been because of the clips that he's been posting on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wound up finding him through some of the other VTubers in the community I'm part of. And I instantly fell in love. So I'm in there with all of these people from TikTok, and boy, there are a lot of shit posters. Oh my God.
Welcome to TikTok.
Most recently, he's been playing a game called I Am Bread. You're a slice of bread who needs to get toasted and eaten. So you have to flip-flop your way across the kitchen without getting too dirty to be inedible.
Did you just say "Dear God," Justin?
Yeah, this was a game that came out several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, his freakouts are kind of awesome.
Hey, good to know. All right, let's go next to Raul the Baul.
Okay, so I'm watching a series called Warriors, excuse me, and Warrior. I can't remember if it's plural or not, but Warriors it was a project that was the last workings of Bruce Lee, and he wanted to take the early Wild West approach and show like a gangland warfare and what the Chinese had to put up with in the San Fran area, and that sort of mixed area, and the conflict between them, the Irish, the overlords of the area, the mayor, and that sort of thing. And it's a fascinating show. Real dynamic. Women are ever present in the show. It's amazing.
And where is it again? Where did you find it?
It is on Disney. No, it's on Amazon, I believe. I can't remember. Hold on 1 second. Let me find it 1 second. Go on to somebody else. That's
Okay.
all I've been watching. That's all.
Okay, let's go to the Eyebrows of Doom.
So
Any Cars with Faces this week?
Well, actually, I want to do a quick streaming update. This past week, I returned to the game that launched my channel, XCOM 2. I've launched my very first legendary Iron Man campaign. That's the highest difficulty, and there is no reloading saves. So if I make a mistake, if a soldier dies, if I just get bad luck and my entire team wipes, that's it. I just have to carry forward with the campaign. I barely ended the tutorial phase, and I'm already down 2/3 of my starting soldiers. So I'm doing it.
It'll be okay.
But no, not so much with Cars with Faces this week. However, the little guy, in addition to the usual diet of Paw Patrol and Bob the Builder, we started watching the newly released library of Pink Fong. While that name might not be familiar, their most popular video may well be.
Oh my God! Please, never again.
Oh my God.
Yes, they're the guys behind
On
Baby Shark.
SuperGeeks.
No.
So there's
Oh.
they actually have a whole library of short videos spanning pretty much every single topic any toddler could talk about: dinosaurs, cars, trucks, stars, space. There are Baby Shark variants for absolutely everything. There are Halloween Baby Shark videos. There are Christmas Baby Shark videos. There's a Baby Shark-like song for stars. Baby star bloop, young star bloop 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 bloop, young star, then mature star yellow, old star red, and then of course everything is being drawn into a black hole. Black hole. It's just trying to suck everything in, and I'm watching this. This is a kids show.
I mean, do you not remember Real Monsters? That was a kids show.
Yes, but that was a show for preschoolers.
It was still terrifying.
Well, yeah, it was creepy and gross, but hey, that's Nickelodeon for you. This is like Nick Jr.
Hallmark.
Nick Jr. stuff isn't. Nick Jr. is Paw Patrol and other stuff, the cutesy stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah,
no green slime there.
Yeah. So look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's the mascot is a cute pink fox with a star pendant on its chest. Lots and lots of that.
So what you're saying is you have that theme stuck in your head from
Yes.
now until eternity.
Yeah.
I think he subjected us to it, son.
No, I've been immune to that song for like quite a while.
I've been immune.
I don't understand. Like everyone jumped on that. It's stuck in my head. Get rid of it. And I heard it and I'm like, okay, I understand it's catchy. And then I went and listened to like 5 hours of nothing but chill music and it never came back. I'm like, okay.
You deprogrammed yourself, son. You were wise. Okay.
Indeed. Okay, thank you, Ross. Let's go over to Ensign Beard Fosse.
Hey, so what have I been watching? The Children's Baking Challenge.
Is this one of the ones you watch because of your wife?
And the kid.
So
imagine you take like it's a reality show. It's a season long, right? You start with like 10 of the most like overachieving alpha
Bakers?
kids. Huh?
Yeah. Bakers?
Kids who bake and stick them into a competition together. And it's judged by some guy, some celebrity baker.
It's the nicest version of Gordon Ramsay ever.
And Valerie Bertinelli, who is still hot.
Really?
Yes. And they each week, it's like they give them a baking challenge. They have to bake something, and then one of them gets eliminated, and one of them gets like, you're the best, yeah. Just this show really sucks to watch when you're trying to lose weight.
Well,
I'll never watch food shows.
Do what I did. Go buy you some beef jerky and stick it in the oven on the lowest setting for a couple of hours. That'll help.
Son is the apostle of beef jerky. She really is.
Oh my. Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Fosse. Let's go to Travis and Lane.
This week on Disaster.
Oh no, Disaster Piece Theater.
Yes.
We have a real agenda. You can keep that boo to yourself. So today we entered the wonderful, wonderful world that is Asylum Pictures. And we put on a wonderful little piece called Geo Disaster.
Oh, God.
Geo Disaster is the worst thing in the history of ever that is still somehow better than Magma Volcanic Disaster. It's I'm glad
Now,
I got
by better, do you mean better at being bad or better as in not as bad?
Not as bad as Magma.
Okay.
It's a movie about a dark matter projectile that comes toward the Earth, hits the Earth, punches a clean hole through the Earth, and the disasters that follow thereafter, which are honestly pretty tame, all things considered. Like the worst thing
for
that
a
happens,
disaster.
Yeah, for a disaster movie. Like there's like some volcano that activity that is very tame. The worst earthquakes are like only a little over 9.0 on the Richter scale, when like a meteor impact would like trigger like magnitude 11 at least, and like a mega tsunami that hits the west coast and only goes about like 30 miles in or some shit. Like honestly, the biggest takeaway that I took away from this film was that the characters suck. It's full of whining children. It's full of idiots again that have no idea.
Remind me again why you're engaged in this self-flagellation.
I don't know, because I like putting myself through pain, I guess.
I guess so.
Because pain is pleasure.
Travis is our sidebot. He wants to share the pain.
I want to share the pain with you all. I wrote down some notes this week.
He took notes, folks.
Yes, I took notes because you're gonna just, the character relationships are forced. I don't care about them. There's nonstop whining from every child character. Like, I thought you were so much better than this. Why did you buy a vehicle from Army Navy surplus? I don't want to die. These people seemingly know exactly how to survive these disasters because they've seemingly been in worse situations. Like there was a character that's like, oh, I've been in this avalanche where like the person I was climbing with had to lose an arm, and we carried the arm and the person back, and I was like, good fucking grief, this is just like, oh my, it just keeps going and going, and they build this whole thing up as a disaster that is supposed to rival the disaster that caused the extinction of the dinosaurs.
Oh, of course.
And it all takes place on a beautiful day, and everything just feels so tame and feels like more like a minor inconvenience at the worst at times. Like, it's just, the plot is ridiculous. There are scenes that make absolutely no sense. It isn't enjoyable, and I wouldn't expect anything less from Asylum. Fuck that studio.
All right. Well, thank you for torturing us again this week. Always good to hear. Let's head over to Stalwart Justin.
Yes. Well, I started a rewatch of Stargaterland. I've finished my Babylon 5 watch finally, and Doctor Who. Also doing a watch of the West Wing and seriously dangerous gaming. Just kind of doing the match thing, trying to find things.
We can't hear you, Justin.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
Sorry, I was trying to say so yeah, what? Why? Okay.
Well, that sounded like it was Carlos.
It was me, but I have no idea where that came from. Sorry, it must have been another tab on my browser.
He's surfing porn.
That was not porn music.
I don't know.
That was totally porn
Almost
music.
every person I ever talked to seems like hard rock is what they listen to while doing the do's. It's like it wouldn't make sense.
I love Sun's poetic description of Carlos doing stuff.
Except
That was totally porn music. Know it.
that kind of music would not get me in that kind of mood in any way whatsoever.
You obviously haven't been to many strip clubs then.
I actually have been to strip clubs, and yes, that's part of the reason why I don't enjoy them. Plus the boobs.
Carlos needs some enigma in his diet. That'll get him going. I guarantee it. I didn't want to be stereotypical and say Cher, so
I need to get a leather ball cap or leather bike cap for that song.
Wow, that would be something.
Why? No, you don't want to get assless chaps for it?
Well, they don't show up on screen.
What do you mean? He already has assless chaps.
Yeah, how do you know he doesn't already?
Are assless.
That's true. That's true.
We don't need to see his ass right now.
No, you really don't.
That's okay. No one's asking.
Chaps are a leather leg sleeve that go over jeans.
Not always.
Did you
not at the Blue Oyster Club, Ross?
Remember?
I know that reference.
Remember those Sears denim sock things that were jeans that I shared? The ones that had the individual belts.
Carlos is the chaps expert.
I understood nothing of what you just said.
You're the chaps expert.
Oh, the chaps expert? Only my lips.
So ugly, son. Oh,
I know. They were terrifying. and Sears even paired them with that one-piece bodysuit thing.
Oh. I'm not fashion-minded in any way, shape, or form, but oh god.
Don't worry, it can offend.
Talk about scared straight. Oh, really?
Ooh, two of them. All right. Is that everyone? Except me. I continued my West Wing binge.
What season are you at?
I'm in season 6. Matt Santos has just declared he's running for president. And
We're on season 3. I need to catch up.
yeah, so I'm making headway. But that was this week for me. So,
What's coming up is the live debate between him and the Republican candidate, and I think that's some of the best political writing ever. That debate itself.
Didn't they do that live too?
They did that live.
They did, and there's 2 versions. Because they did
That's
it
right.
live
They did
twice.
it twice. Once
Yes.
for the West Coast, once for the East Coast.
Yes.
That's right. I saw the West Coast version. Ooh, I wonder what they have on Netflix. Like, do they have both?
That would be interesting.
No, they had the West Coast version because
the Best Coast version.
I think I want to say somebody was in the audience, like because they rotated the audiences out, and that's how you could tell. I think there's a couple scenes that are from the earlier version. I want to say who's the writer, who's the commentator on MSNBC that wrote for the show?
Carlos just saw him.
Oh my
Aren't
goodness!
they scoring?
Huh?
Oh my god! Why would a person do that?
Money.
What?
Jesus!
Lawrence O'Donnell
ever happen.
is the writer.
Yes.
Jason.
Huh?
Lawrence O'Donnell.
Lawrence O'Donnell. His mother was in the audience, but I'm totally lost now.
We were talking about the East Coast, West Coast versions of the debate on.
And then, we had this thrown in our chat. Totally fucked us up for a moment.
How does that even happen? Like, I don't even understand how that works.
Well, obviously, the little belts act like
I'm
Scarred.
concerned
Wait,
about-
everybody needs to look at Ross's face right now.
Yeah, you can't unsee that.
Polyester nightmares.
I'm more
sorry
concerned
that-
about the rest of it. Like, what is that? Is it like a one-piece shirt? What's happening?
It's all bad.
Yes,
Oh,
those are a
no,
one-piece
no.
outfit. Yes,
Oh, stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
that's a one-piece outfit. Yes, it is.
It's like someone
Tired, I
tried
can't-
to.
I can't-
It's like someone just made a bunch of shorts and
Jeff
tried to market the leftovers.
Foxworthy talks about wearing one of those one pieces.
I'm
Oh
too
my
tired.
goodness.
Oh
I can't get
Lord.
that.
Wow.
good, huh?
Okay. Well, I think that's a
supposed to
perfect way.
sleep?
Well,
After
we've
seeing that.
gone off on a high note, Carlos.
Yes, I was going to say I think it's the perfect way to end this week's installment of the Real Super Geeks podcast. So, program notes before we take off, folks at home. We will, of course, be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. So please join us then. And otherwise, please feel free to stick around for our famous after show segment, Florida Man, in which we figure out what the hell that dude's been doing this past week. And otherwise, we'll see you next week. Thank you to my fellow hosts for their wit and wisdom and perspective for this week. And of course, thank God for Lane.
And go out and buy a Mountain Dew Malibu Blast. It's really good.
Okay. There you have it, folks. That's your homework. What was that, Travis?
He's the only pure thing on this show nowadays, isn't he?
That's really true.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, it may be during the show, but we know what he does after the show.
Do we?
Do we? I don't want to know.
I
Bill-
don't
Hey,
know.
don't sully the Lane Wholesome posting.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank
He
you.
sleeps on the bed until I get home, and then he comes up and gives me a nice big hug because
Oh,
You know, and with his arms so short, that's probably hard to do.
yeah.
he makes it work.
He has T-Rex arms.
He makes it work. Okay, well then I think we're done for this week. Stick around for Florida Man. I hear tell that Son has a great story to start us off with. So
Absolutely.
Take us out, Internet Cat.
And remember,
Keyboard cat.
you are loved
Play us
and
out.
appreciated by just your being you.
Just being you who you are. All right.
Don't
Play us
forget,
out.
you take the good, you take them bad, you take them both, and there you have
And then he has it.
the facts of life.
Ah!
No.
Spay your pets, ladies and gentlemen.
I think we killed Ross.
We did.
We broke Ross.
Horrid.
I think he's literally shooting stuff out of his nose.
No, my nose is dry. It's too cold down here to have any form of liquid.
It's frozen.
You got
Stay
Alright.
warm, Ross.
Yeah, I will. You guys
Get
have a
yourself
good
one of
night.
those little heaters.
care,
those
Ross.
little ceramic heaters.
Yeah, I'll take a good one. Or,
All right. Thanks,
Take
Travis.
care,
and Lane.
Travis.
I'm not even talking right anymore. Later.
We need to
Bye.
stop it out of you tonight, man.
You got 2 out of me at the end there, so good job. Bye-bye.
Oh, yay. Yay, us.
Okay, so here's the first Florida Man story. Florida Man turns Uncle's skeleton into quote-unquote Skelecaster guitar.
Yeah. Dark.
Is
So
there a,
wrong.
is there a
Is there-
photo of that?
Is there a photo of this? Yes, there is. And,
Oh,
I'm,
God.
and I'm posting it now.
Okay. Justin, can you put that up for the folks at home?
It-
Oh, my God.
Holy no.
Hold on, I'll throw it up, Justin.
Wow.
There's so much wrong with this.
There really is. There really is a lot wrong with
I don't think this is legal.
that. Yep. Wow. Those are hip bones down at the bottom.
Yeah, that's somebody's pelvis. That's pretty. Oh my God.
Prince Midnight.
a functioning guitar. From
Oh my God! It's
skeleton
from the skeleton of his dead uncle.
Yep.
That's what I said.
Wow. Who had died 20 years ago.
Wow.
Wow, that's
Wow.
After the college no longer had need of the skeleton, his family refused to have him cremated. He had to do something with it.
Wow.
so why not a Skelecaster?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, look at him. His uncle looks like he probably would have liked it.
Probably.
There is
That's
Metallica
so-
shirt.
Okay, who has our next Florida man?
I've got
Very.
one.
That's hard to top, though, guys.
Wait. I think I might have one. Florida man steals rings from one girlfriend, uses them to propose to another.
That's boss. That's boss.
That's just efficient. That's just
That's boss.
Are you
I
sure
don't
that's
love that.
Kentucky man?
Smart. It's like Texas man now.
Oh,
Here's a good one. Florida man arrested for punching his girlfriend for changing channel during the Super Bowl.
Jeez.
Here's one. Florida man threw woman onto bed and smelled her to check for cheating.
Oh my God, gross.
Wow.
Holy shit.
That's a new one, Justin.
Whoa, that was gross. Florida man jumps into Bass Pro Shop's fish tank in South Florida.
Well, he was just
I'm
hunting
not
the
surprised.
lobster, wasn't he?
Oh, man.
Florida man and son arrested for selling fentanyl and franks, cocaine and chili dogs, hot dogs and heroin to go from a Popeno eatery.
Okay, here is a very unfortunate Florida man who was killed after being struck twice by hit and run drivers. He got hit by one, and as soon as he got back on his feet, he was hit by another one.
bad luck right there.
That
That's
is
the
bad
real
luck.
bad luck. That's like some what's that movie name? Oh crap! What's one?
I'm just curious, what does infidelity smell like?
Alec Peters.
It smells like failure.
Oh, that hurt my heart.
You hurt his heart.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Florida man Tom Brady throws Lombardi Trophy from one float to another during Buccaneers parade.
Well, there you go.
He was
he's-
trashed. That would have sucked if he dropped it, wouldn't it have?
Mm-hmm.
Not a Tom Brady fan, but that man knows football like the back of his hand.
Okay, this Florida man's story is funny because of the way the headline is phrased. It says, latest Florida man arrested after exposing himself to cars. Like, is this a thing? Here's the
Yes.
latest one.
Yes.
Yes, that's the thing.
I guess it is.
So it was his first time seeing cars?
Wonder if they had faces.
So here's one simply for the Darwin factor. Florida man shoots dead the dude trying to steal his Mercedes.
Exterminate.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Florida man steals Amazon delivery van, arrested shortly after.
Yeah, it's not the smartest move in the world.
Yeah, they can track those things, like literally.
That's the whole point is that they
Yeah.
tracked every single package in there.
and
Thank God.
the thing itself too. I mean, the
Yeah,
actual,
and the bands themselves. Yeah.
yeah.
Like you still hear that thing doing crap. Clearly, that was not a smart Florida man. But then again, our Florida man's smart.
Florida man commits back-to-back armed robberies at same 7-Eleven.
So,
Oh man.
Florida man wrangles 300-pound, 16-foot Burmese python on family property. There's a picture.
Jesus.
oh no.
So apparently, the guy who ran onto the Super Bowl field was a Florida man who was promoting a porn website.
Smart.
Of course.
I'm wondering which one. I'm looking it up.
Here's an almost tragic but happy ending Florida man story. Florida man, garbage truck driver, happens to look in the rearview mirror and see a 7-year-old kid who'd been hiding in a garbage can that has been dumped into the back of the truck. Springs into action to save the kid from being crushed.
Oh.
Man.
Holy Jesus.
Holy cow.
That's a lot of kids that snake could eat.
Oh, so you know how you had that headline about the Florida man exposing himself to cars?
Yeah.
Here's another one.
There you go. Latest one.
Florida man tells cops that he was, quote unquote, protesting for civil rights by showing his penis to traffic, but was now finished and wanted to go home.
Of course. What's done is done.
Oh, the guy with the who stole his engagement ring from his girlfriend to propose to his other girlfriend.
Mhm.
Apparently, he has a tattoo that says "Only God can judge me."
I guess he believes it. So apparently, Florida men like to go joyriding in excavators. And one of them caused a neighborhood power outage just before the Super Bowl, making him the least popular Florida man that day.
Well, Florida man do what a Florida man can.
I guess so.
Florida man arrested after botched golf cart heist in Fort Myers.
Golf cart heist? Why would you try to steal a golf cart? There's no way.
On the Super Bowl streaker, Florida man who streaked a Super Bowl explains greatest moment of my life.
Yep.
Apparently, in the video game Hitman 3, there's a challenge in which you have to knock out a Florida man with a coconut. Hitman 3, folks.
That almost makes me want to buy that game.
Now I want to go buy that game.
There you go. Happy to help.
Yeah, just to do that. Just to do it.
Florida man wins 7th Super Bowl ring.
That's a good one. I'm not sure why I'm laughing at this, but Florida man travels to Houston after suffering from enlarged tongue following COVID-19 diagnosis. A big tongue.
I'm tongue.
Drunk Florida woman stabs sister with EpiPen because she's allergic to drunks.
Denied.
Yeah.
It looks like that's all that went on this week.
Yeah, I think there's not much
It's
else
gotten
going on in Florida.
It's gotten extremely cold again, so
even in Florida.
Florida man's going to die down for a little bit.
Well,
I know, we
they
have
just
some pretty
have,
good stories this week.
well, they just have to adjust for the weather. It usually takes about a week or so, but we should be seeing some good Florida weather stories. Because, they're stupid in Florida. So.
Wait a minute. I've been keeping an eye on the Twitch chat because we're still streaming over there. Someone said, Florida man steals Mandalorian armor. Isn't heard from again.
That is the way.
So yeah, that looks like everything for this week.
All right. Well, that was a good crop of stories. Thank you all for your contributions, folks at home. Thanks for sticking with us for our Florida Man segment. We will, of course, be back next week, right after Super Geeks podcast, for even more tales of the Florida Man.
Florida man. Yeah, the Florida man can.
Indeed, he does.
Oh, righty. Oh, and I hit the wrong button. Here, got it.
All right. Play us out, keyboard cat.